humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox, air is life. Make it perfect.
This is Sam, and he changed my life. If you're a veteran or know a veteran struggling with post-traumatic stress or traumatic brain injury, please go to AmericanHumane.org to learn about the Pups for Patriots service dog program.
The National Religious Broadcasters 2024 TV Station of the Year Award winner, theDove TV.
Preaching the gospel and equipping the saints in a way that only Todd Friel can. Wretched, weekdays and weeknights on theDove TV, encouraging and informing.
Well, good morning, and welcome to Mornings on the Dove on this Monday as we head down the end of 2024 and into the beginning of 2025. Good morning. I am Jerry Bilden's reason to get up in the morning.
Well, in many ways, that's true.
Anyway, good morning to you. Happy Monday. A lot going on in the news. Of course, the big news is the passing of President Jimmy Carter yesterday afternoon. We have a lot on that, which we will highlight. 100 years old. Wow. The longest surviving president in the history of the United States. Quite the humanitarian, and we have a lot to talk about when we get into that. Weather-wise, well, we have a reprieve, and boy, do we need it, because it was close, very dangerously close, even though there was a lot of flooding. We'll talk about that. So a lot going on in that department. See the smile on his face? It probably won't come off until May.
Yeah, but we got both up there.
We're talking 10 inches in the last 24 hours, and it's 20 degrees up there this morning.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, though, because night before last, it rained so hard on Mount Ashland, it was like a monsoon.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable, but it only enhances the base. It fills that base up with moisture, and then snow came on top of it. It got cold again, and it froze.
Yeah.
It was quite the ordeal, to say the least.
Did you ski the aerial?
I did ski aerial.
You did?
Yeah. Went by the infamous tower. In fact, I got a little video. I'll shoot it to Alice, and we'll see if we can get it up next hour.
All right, good.
All
good.
right.
Good to see you. All right, good morning. Anything special today?
Well, a couple things going on today is Falling Needles Family Fest Day.
And get rid of the tree.
That's right.
Hijack the tree. Get it out of here.
And last week on Friday, I did see another demonstration. Fire department put a tree out and torched it. And it is frightening how fast a Christmas tree goes up in flames.
Yeah.
And we did that every year for years and years. We'd haul the tree out, we'd stand it up, and I'd put like one newspaper in it. I'd light that newspaper, and the whole thing would go whoo.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that I still have needles somewhere in my house from those trees. And we haven't had a natural tree in many years now.
Yeah.
But I know there are needles in my house from the old ones.
Well, they probably are. The mice had them. They had their own Christmas.
It's also, especially after we've been doing a lot of eating, depending on how you use bicarbonate of soda, but it is National Bicarbonate of Soda Day. And bicarbonate of soda has a lot of uses in baking and different cooking, and it's good for your tummy when you got acid reflux.
There you go.
Yeah. It's
better known as Tums.
Well, Tums, yeah, absolutely. Or just take it out of the box. You have a teaspoon, some water. Oh, that's the deal.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there you go.
And finally, something you'll never need Tums for. It is National Bacon Day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and our bacon is pork belly usually. Some other bacons in some other countries come from the sides of the pork, but pork belly works.
Well, it's just one of those things. It's just as common as oxygen,
That's right. It's not just for breakfast.
No. No.
Yeah.
So,
good stuff.
Bacon Day.
Bacon Day. Put it on a cheeseburger.
All right. Well, good morning to you. A lot going on in the news, as I said, but the weather, wow. I'll give you some highlights on the water levels in a few minutes, but let's check in with a guy that's got his fingers on the controls here.
After an atmospheric river brought impressive rain totals, things should calm down a bit, but showers continue in northern Oregon and southern Washington, with highs in the mid-40s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville with a light south wind. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with showers likely in amounts less than 1/10 of an inch possible from Salem and Albany through Corvallis and Eugene, with highs in the mid-40s. In Central Oregon, partly sunny with a high near 41 in Prineville and 37 in Bend. A slight chance of snow, then mostly cloudy in mid-30s in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, partly sunny and near 40. Along the Oregon coast, a chance of showers in upper 40s for Coos Bay and low 50s in Port Orford. A chance of rain, then mostly sunny and low 50s in Brookings and Crescent City, California, with a light and variable wind. In southern Oregon, patchy, dense fog, then mostly cloudy with daytime highs in the mid-40s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. Patchy fog in the Klamath Basin, then mostly cloudy in upper 30s. Into northern California, partly sunny in upper 30s in Wairika, sunny in mid-50s in Redding and Chico with lows in the mid-30s. In Sacramento, areas of fog, then clearing to sunny and near 54. In the Bay Area, patchy frost, then sunny in mid-50s with a freeze warning tonight for Santa Rosa and Napa. In San Francisco, mostly sunny with a high near 56. And today in San Jose, areas of fog, then sunny and 57 with a frost advisory tonight. It's a look at your Monday weather on the Dove.
Okay, there you go. Well, we still have some activity at the big hill up there.
Yeah.
And boy, that looks like it's bubbling up.
Yeah, it does. It does. But I got to tell you, boy, what coverage we have for this part of the year. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. And you know what else is amazing? You should have seen the people.
Really?
And I'm not just talking about skiers and snowboarders. I'm just talking about people coming up, bringing their kids, going to the back parking lot, walking out onto the back trail, taking toboggans and sleds and snowshoes and cross-country skis and inner tubes. And I mean, it was absolutely amazing.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, we've been waiting for seasons like this.
Yes.
You know, we're kind of coming out of a 3-year slump period there and back, and so that's really good stuff. 20 degrees up there, and in the last 10 hours, you got 10 inches.
Oh, man.
So on top of that warm rain that you got on Saturday, now it's freezing out. It's only 32 degrees outside our studios right now.
Right. Yeah. Well, let me ask you something. Do you ever have moments in life where you're thinking, what am I doing here right now?
Yeah, with all these people. Right?
In this dry set.
Yeah. Oh, here.
Yeah.
Oh, here. Here.
Wherever here is.
I can't answer that, Jerry, other than we can get you pills.
Okay, thank you very much.
Pills or counseling, one or the other. I'm sure we get.
Bicarbonate of soda, baby.
Yeah, there we go.
Settle my stomach down.
Please do. Okay.
Hey, you know, we get some great messages from Bayless Connolly. Do you know anything about his son?
No.
His name is Harrison. Harrison Connolly is here with some encouragement for all of us.
When we hear this phrase, the Lord bless you, we mustn't think of material blessing in this sort of obtuse, kind of crude sense. It's not just a blanket statement. It's actually very personal and hand-tailored. Notice it says the Lord bless you. Yeah, it's prayed over the crowd. Yes, it's prayed over the people, but it's very personal. It's hand-tailored. The Lord bless you. It means God sees you. Out of all the crowd, he knows you. The details of your personal situation are not lost on him. And remember this definition for blessing. He kneels down beside you. He's not standing over you. He's near and he's present. Dare I say, he understands your situation even better than you understand your situation. And his desire is to get to you exactly what you need. Remember the scripture says he clothes the lilies and he feeds the sparrows. The Bible says that even not a single bird will fall from the sky that he doesn't know about. The Bible says that the very hairs on your head, or lack thereof, are numbered and known by him. That every tear is captured. And what God wants, he wants to bless us with both physical things and practical things. The Lord bless you. So for the infirmed, he wants to bless you with healing. For the businessman, he wants to bless you with customers. For the parent, he wants to bless you with wisdom and discernment. He wants to bless you with patience. How many of you know we need patience when it comes to raising our children? For the lonely student, God wants to bless you with godly friends. This is the nature of our Father. He knows us. He loves us. His desire is to bless us with both practical and physical blessings.
All right.
Well, the old apple didn't fall from the tree, did
Not
it?
a bit. My goodness.
Good stuff. All
Yeah.
right. Oh, and his name is Harrison.
Harrison.
All right, that's Bayless's son.
Maybe we'll hear more from him.
We
coming
need to interview both those guys because Bayless came to the Lord on the streets of Medford, Oregon as a young kid, walking around all kind of life gone crazy, and somebody witnessed to him on the street and led him to the Lord. So we need to
Good stuff. Yeah.
do some stuff there.
Yeah.
All right, good morning to you. Let's take a look at the top stories. And of course, the top story of the day was yesterday afternoon. Jimmy Carter, the 39th president of the United States, passed away at the age of 100. Quite the guy, goes from peanut farmer to governor to president. And actually went from school board to Senate, I believe, to governor, to president.
And even before that, he went to the Naval Academy.
Naval Academy.
To the Navy, and then on,
Yeah, he's quite the accomplished guy.
Yes.
Look, I think his policies were stuff that probably wouldn't set well with some people, but there's no question about it. He was a great humanitarian, a Sunday school teacher at a Baptist church there in Plains, Georgia, and probably known for a lot of things, but he did create, I shouldn't say create, he brought together Israel and Egypt for the peace agreement.
Right.
That was the biggie.
Yeah.
Everything else in his administration wasn't that successful, but he went on to deal with humanity. What do they call it?
Habitat for Humanity.
Habitat for Humanity,
Yes,
excuse me, which ended up building all kinds of homes all over the place. Anyway, preceded in death by his wife, Joe Biden, President Biden, said this about Jimmy Carter.
Just look at his life's work. He worked to eradicate disease, not just at home, but around the world. He forged peace, advanced civil rights, human rights, promoted free and fair elections around the world. He built housing and homeless for the homeless with his own hands. And his compassion and moral clarity lifted people up and changed lives and saved lives all over the globe. Jimmy Carter was just as courageous in his battle against cancer as he was in everything in his life. Cancer was a common bond between our two families, as with many other families. And our son Bo died. When he died, Jimmy and Rosalynn were there to help us heal. Jimmy knew the ravage of the disease too well.
Okay, from what I understand, I don't know if this has been confirmed, but President Biden has been asked to give a eulogy at President Carter's memorial. So we'll have to see how this plays out. But in the next several days, you got several things going on. You're going to have the funeral of a former president who happened to be the oldest in the history of the United States. You're going to have the election of a speaker, which seems to be a little shaky, and then followed by the confirmation of the Electoral College of President-elect Trump. All this is going to happen in the next week or so. Wow. So a lot going on as we look down the road there. A couple of other stories. It looks like in the UK, the Farage movement has gone from in Parliament there in the UK from a seat of 5 up to 72.
Wow.
Things are shaking up, and it looks like there could be a shakeup and a prime minister change in the UK, moving back to more of a centric position, not so woke, so left, so crazy. So the residual effect of what's happening in the United States is spilling over into the UK. And we'll see. But to go from 5 to 72, that is a big jump.
That is huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
So there could be some changes there. And, of course, the other one is it looks like Trudeau up in Canada is in serious trouble. And his ex-advisor cast doubt on the Canadian's prime minister's future after Trump floats the idea of Wayne Gretzky,
Wayne Gretzky, the great one.
The great one.
Yes.
Since he floated that, apparently Canada is biting. They like it.
Really?
I don't think Gretzky is going to do it.
Yeah.
He's not. Doesn't seem to be interested in it. But the suggestion is that Trudeau is done. Now, we've had people on the air that say that he's going to be out by Valentine's Day. But his popularity is sinking so bad And the question is, if he resigns, now they're saying when he resigns.
Oh, really?
Okay. Will it trigger a national election or just a replacement? And I don't know how it works in Canada. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing because you would think that if he resigned, there would be like a vice president type that would step in.
His vice president's already resigned.
Oh, that's
She
right.
was the finance minister, and she had enough of the nonsense.
Okay.
So all of this stuff is kind of going crazy here, but I don't think Gretzky's going to do it. Probably pretty honored by it.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, will he be drafted? The idea has caught fire in Canada. People like the idea.
Yeah.
Let's get Common Joe in to run the country.
Yeah.
You know, so those are some of the big headlines.
You made
of the
a good comment, though. You know, I don't doubt that he would do it. My question would be, why would he do it?
Well, if he wants to end his life in misery, you would do it.
Yeah,
you know,
he might not be known as the great one anymore.
But you know what might be interesting with this is the trolling of Canada being State 51.
Yes.
Actually has some legs to it. It's growing.
Wow.
I don't know if it's going to happen, but the idea there is kind of like the state of Jefferson being the 51st state. You know,
Yeah.
it gets off the ground once in a while, but it flies about as far as the Wright brothers plane does. You
Right.
know? But Canada is in a mess, like most of these countries are. So you got Canada going to probably go through a leadership change.
Yeah.
You got France that's probably going to go through a leadership change, all because the United States is returning back to common sense and self-protection, and all these other countries want it too.
Is there an international movement back towards the center, do you think?
I think, yes. You know what it is? I don't think it's back to the center. I think it's just waking up and claiming the ground we've always had, but we never defended it.
Okay.
There's quite an article out over the weekend I was reading about some people saying that, I think it was Governor Sununu said that MEGA did not replace the Republican Party. Well, this is semantical.
Yeah.
I think what MEGA has done is given the Republican Party the backbone that it's always needed. We've never had a candidate who will go out there and do what he got elected to do. Every candidate that, I say this respectfully, but they always run way to the right, and we're going to do all these things. We're going to be conservative. We're going to change things. We're going to They get elected, they go right to the middle and camp out.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
And so people have had enough of this nonsense.
Yeah.
And I think that America is still center-right. It's not center-left, it's center-right. And I think other countries are center-right. And when you lower your border walls and anybody can come in, you've lost your identity.
Yeah, and I think
most of them are saying, no, we don't want to do this anymore.
I think that has a lot to do with a lot of other countries, too, because there have been border issues elsewhere as well.
Yeah.
And I think that is a huge driving force.
It's pretty messy out there. Listen, we have a special report coming up on President Carter coming up in a few moments, but more and what happened over the weekend with water around here? Whoa, big numbers. We'll tell you about it when we come back.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Burgers, salads, sandwiches, barbecue platters, sides, and more. Smoked, grilled, and served to perfection. Sweet Tea Express. Breakfast, burgers, and barbecue.
They're fun-loving twins. They love God, hunting, and pranking each other. Join the Hamptons for outdoor adventure every weekend on Twin Factor. Brought to you by Black Flag Armory in Medford and Grants Pass. Truly excellent service.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
You know, the Bible says the heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord. So that's our king or our president, President Biden. That would be Russia's leader, President Putin. That would be President Zelensky in Ukraine and others in positions of leadership. We need to pray for these people and pray that God guides them and directs their steps and that they make the right decisions. Because if any of these people make the wrong decisions, we could have a conflict on a scale like we have never seen before. The Bible says, don't worry about anything, but pray about everything. The Bible's not saying we should not be concerned. The Bible's not even saying we should not be alarmed. But worry does not help. So tell your children to be calm, remind them that God is in control, and pray with them. And let's commit this to the Lord and ask for the Lord to intervene and bring peace. Bring a stop to the bombing, a stop to this whole crisis. He can do it. With God, all things are possible.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Okay, welcome back. Happy Monday. Kind of another short week. Today, a little bit tomorrow, and then Wednesday we watch the Ducks.
Oh, that's right. That's New Year's Day, the Rose Bowl.
We watched the Ducks run over Ohio.
Oh, I wish that was the case. I'm not.
It's going to be a tough game.
I'm not going to be bold on this one. Many people think, this is part of the tournament, and whoever wins this goes on. But many people think this is the actual national championship game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday, while it was so warm and everybody was concerned about weather and everything, there was a little report of how many cars with yellow and green were going south.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with a lot of flags. So a lot of people are leaving and heading down.
Oh,
got tickets. They're going that way. So anyway, we had a close call. Thank God it cleared up and got cold. But some of the river shots, these are just some of the floods that Rogue River yesterday. This is big stuff. Now, some of the numbers as of this morning, Rogue River at Grants Pass is 16 feet above normal. Oof. Running at 40K. You come back, so if you come back up, now that's where it widens out. So if you come back up to Dodge Bridge, it's up 9.8 feet, running at 18K. That is a lot of water. And I don't know how much they control coming out of the dam, but I imagine that builds as you go on down. Why does it build? Because you got all these tributaries coming into it.
You got Elk Creek, you got
all that.
Big Butte, everything coming in, yeah.
So at the top of the river, at least in our backyard, at the top where the dam is there at the hatchery, it's 9.8 feet up, running at 18K. This was yesterday at noon, now. By the way, it all peaked yesterday at noon.
Okay.
By the time it got down to Rogue River yesterday, it was 16 feet, running at 40K.
Wow.
That's a lot of water.
That's a lot.
Now, over in the Klamath River, the same thing was going on. It finally peaked yesterday at 14.6 feet up, running at 34K. And that was yesterday, a little after noon. Now, all of these numbers will start to decline today, but folks, that's right on the edge of severe flooding. There was a lot of flooding. A lot of roads were covered with water. But it was kind of like at the bottom of the scale of going up into what they would call severe flooding, but it was going up that fast.
Okay.
So you can see how high that is. That's right there at the Rogue River.
Well, let me ask you, because the water was right under my bridge on Elk Creek.
Yeah.
I mean, just like a massive river.
Yeah.
With all that runoff that's still coming, is that going to go up or down in the day here?
It peaked yesterday.
Okay.
It's supposed to drop significantly today.
Okay.
Okay, so yesterday at noon, between 12 and 1 o'clock, maybe 1:30, these numbers were the peak numbers. But they're coming back down now, and so we're going to go down significantly, but still very high water. But man, you know what this reminded me of? It reminded me of 1997 when all of a sudden New Year's Day I was on the air all day long. A lot of these major tributaries were full. Bear Creek was full. Our irrigation ditch below our house. It was full.
And there's water standing everywhere.
In fields and everything. So it was a warm storm. This morning there was ice on the windshield. I welcomed it.
Yep.
But that's kind of what's happening out there. So to further this, take a look at the satellite image. Here's what's going on with the weather out there. We do have a reprieve today and a little bit tomorrow, but look at that system offshore. What's that going to do?
Wednesday's bringing us more rain with highs in the mid-40s. Probably rain on Thursday and Friday as well, with, again, upper 40s and then up to about 50 by Friday. And then a day break on Saturday and maybe another chance of showers on Sunday. So yeah.
The storm door's open, as Leon would say, and there it is.
Yep. And I got to tell you the truth, there are a lot of smiling faces on Mount Ashland.
Well, you know what was interesting? The road over Siskiyou was clear and no snow on the roadway. You get to the top of the mountain, it dropped 10 degrees. You know?
Yeah.
But then that storm came through. It got warm. It was raining up there. But now this morning, Mount Ashland's sitting at 20 degrees.
Perfect.
So, perfect.
Perfect.
So everything's working out, but that also means ice everywhere else, folks. So please drive carefully if you're traveling over the next couple of days. But you know what's really cool about all this?
What?
Can you imagine the lakes this summer?
Oh, yeah, and the river. If we get a decent salmon run, oh my goodness, they're going to have plenty of water over their backs. It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, this is good stuff all the way around. So anyway, be careful out there.
Hey, I got a question for you. Hey, remember, especially in a number of metropolitan areas, there were officials running on the defund the police platform. What's happened to that?
Well, they went the way of Biden. Excuse me, President Biden. I'm sorry. I should be more respectful than that.
I got to be careful when I ask these questions.
I know. I got it. You know, in spite of our differences, we need to be respectful.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll do that here, because on Newsmax's America right now, Citizens Behind the Badge founder Craig Floyd discussed the decline of defund the police.
Well, let's not call it dead. Let's say it's on life support, Tom. It's been a disaster. It started in 2020. Cities and towns across this country cut hundreds of millions of dollars from their police budgets. Crime was rampant. We hadn't seen violent crime at this rate since the early 1990s. And we lost about 37,000 talented and experienced police officers. That was the damage that was done. So last month, the voters in this nation said enough is enough. We're sick and tired of politicians that are coddling criminals instead of supporting our police. We saw Donald Trump soundly defeat Kamala Harris, who was an early and strong supporter of the defund the police movement. We saw 12 of the 25 George Soros connected soft on crime prosecutors in this country either defeated or recalled last month. And in California, one of the most liberal states in the nation, they passed overwhelmingly Proposition 36, which toughened penalties for drug and theft crimes. This is unheard of in a liberal country, a liberal state like California. And on top of that, a lot of the states and localities that had cut police funding are now restoring funds, thankfully. And the pendulum is starting to swing in the right direction when it comes to police and crime in this country.
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm reading articles about who's going to be the next DNC leader, who's going to rise and be the next the Democratic candidate for president, and all this and that. Look, I think that the Democratic machine is so damaged right now that it's several election cycles away from seeing anything. Now, there'll be pockets here and there. There's always blue cities where they elect a congressperson or a state senator or a representative. But overall, its message is bankrupt. And so it's going to take a while for them to get on their feet. Defunding the police, I tell you why it's going to not. It went from being a bad idea to a life support, which I think will actually die. It goes right to the core of something that I've been telling candidates, and when I speak to some other groups, the woman 35-54 is interested in two things: security and safety. And when you rattle the police department and they don't, you can call and nobody's going to come, or they're going to send a psychologist out. That woman said no, not under my watch, and they rose up and voted against it. So that's a short thing of a long.
But you're right.
message.
I mean that hits it.
There you go. So much for that.
All right.
There are two cinnamon rolls out there.
Are there?
Okay, so here's my bet. Okay. Will they be there when I get off the air at 9?
I won't take that bet.
I will, and I'll say they won't.
I would take. That's why I won't take it.
Because we have this little rule here at the Dove. If it's in the refrigerator on the counter, it's commercial.
It is.
It's legal.
It is.
Okay,
yeah.
so anybody can have it. That's why most people are now putting their lunch in this other refrigerator.
I've been doing that for a long time.
You put it over there?
It's gone.
It's commercial. We'll be right back.
Black Flag Armory offers top brand affordable rifles, shotguns, handguns, and gear. We also offer an array of classes emphasizing safety, self-defense, and accuracy. We strive to provide the absolute best possible experience when buying a firearm. Family friendly for every skill level. Black Flag Armory in Medford and Grants Pass. Online at blackflagarms.com or 541-499-0779. 541-499-0779.
Romans 1:20 tells us God's power is revealed in creation. Yet 2 Corinthians 4:4 reminds us that Satan has blinded many to the gospel. At the Life Outdoors, we've seen the truth of God, His eternal power and divine nature displayed in every mountain and stream. Follow along and let's wake the wild within. The mountains don't lie. Where there's truth, there's Jesus.
Sorry about that.
Good morning.
Couldn't hold it back.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So anyway, good morning to you. Good morning. Happy Monday as we move down. And tomorrow is New Year's Eve. Wow. 2025.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we have a special report. Actually, this is Brett Baird looking back on Jimmy Carter's life and with a special report. So here it is.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear.
After the political trauma of Watergate, Jimmy Carter's squeaky clean Baptist background appealed to many Americans. As if to demonstrate there was a new way of doing things in Washington, he began his presidency on a frigid January day in 1977, walking instead of riding the length of Pennsylvania Avenue from the Capitol to the White House, the first president ever to do this. Born in Plains, Georgia in 1924 to peanut farming parents, Carter attended the Naval Academy, earning the rank of lieutenant. In 1946, he married Rosalind Smith and returned to Plains in 1953 to run the family farming business. It was there that Carter developed an interest in politics. He was elected state senator in 1962 and governor of Georgia in 1970.
I am a candidate for president.
When he announced plans to run for president in 1974, Carter was largely an unknown, but he managed to win his party's nomination and edge out incumbent President Gerald Ford by just 2% of the popular vote, one of the closest margins in recent history. President Carter's greatest triumph came in 1978 when he brokered marathon diplomatic talks between Israel's Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat of Egypt. The resulting Camp David Accords ended years of fighting between the two countries.
We've got to stop crying and start sweating. Stop talking and start walking. Stop cursing and start praying.
The late 70s were a time of oil shortages, high unemployment, and double-digit inflation. Carter worked diligently to solve these problems, but the economy slipped into a recession. Then an event that would dominate the remainder of Carter's presidency. Iranian militants captured and held 52 American embassy employees hostage in Tehran. Unable to negotiate their release, Carter ordered a rescue mission, which ended in disaster. 8 American servicemen died when their helicopters collided in the Iranian desert.
Americans in Iran were mistreated.
In 1980, voters rejected Carter's bid for a second term. And to add insult to injury, on the day he left office, the American hostages in Tehran were released to the new Reagan administration. Carter returned to Georgia and through his nonprofit Carter Center remained active in efforts to promote peace around the world. His efforts were successful, and he garnered more respect after he left office than while he was in it, despite countless controversial statements in recent years, including calls for the U.S. to legitimize the terror group Hamas, which is openly committed to the destruction of Israel. He helped convince Haitian military dictator Raúl Cedras to relinquish control of the island nation to elected leader Jean-Bertrand Aristide. He monitored elections in Nicaragua and helped end a standoff over inspection of nuclear facilities between the U.S. and North Korea. Carter was often seen with hammer in hand, building homes for the poor as part of his continuing support for the Habitat for Humanity project. He wrote countless books, including one book of poetry and a memoir. In May 2002, Carter took his first but not last trip to Cuba, the first American president to visit in more than 40 years. He called for the U.S. to end its trade embargo while challenging Fidel Castro to institute democratic reforms. Later that year, the former president won the Nobel Peace Prize for, quote, his decades of untiring effort to find peaceful solutions to international conflicts. During a trip to the Middle East in the summer of 2009, an alleged assassination plot by an al-Qaeda-linked group was uncovered, though the president's aides said they had no knowledge of the plot against him. In the summer of 2010, Carter traveled to North Korea, successfully securing the release of an American citizen who had been sentenced to 8 years of hard labor after allegedly entering the country illegally. Upon his return, Carter advocated the need for a comprehensive peace treaty with the isolated country, arguing Pyongyang was ready to talk and that the U.S. should come to the table. Carter didn't hesitate to criticize the only other living president to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, denouncing President Obama for carrying out widespread drone strikes and warrantless wiretapping. He also said the Obama administration waited too long to respond to the rising threat of ISIS. Just months later, Carter announced he had melanoma that had spread to his liver and brain, tackling the diagnosis with a measure of faith and fortitude. Through his cancer treatment, the former president remained active, continuing his charitable and religious activities.
I don't know what the results will be, but I'm ready for whatever comes.
Months later, he was declared cancer-free. He continued to hammer away at his charitable work with Habitat for Humanity all the way into his 90s.
I feel like we always get more out of it than we put into it, although we work sometimes very hard and overwork on occasion.
And in one of his last major public appearances, made a show of bipartisanship, joining 4 other living presidents at the funeral service of George H.W. Bush in 2018. Amen. Second chances. James Earl Carter thrived on them.
I've had a wonderful life. I've had thousands of friends, and I've had an exciting and adventurous and gratifying existence.
And over time, Americans developed a renewed appreciation for a man who resoundingly lost a re-election bid. This gentleman farmer from Plains, Georgia, who rose to become the 39th president of the United States.
Well, I think he'll be remembered gracefully.
I think so, too.
I don't think that his accomplishments... There were pluses and minuses in his presidency, which I think is the case in all presidents. But he offset his failures with his humanitarian efforts and commitments. He was a Sunday school teacher. He was all these things. And he did set up a conflict of interest of how can you believe some things and not practice others. True. But nonetheless, he demonstrated it. I think there's an old saying is, always preach the gospel and if necessary, use words. He did use words when he taught a Sunday school class, but he preached the gospel by building homes.
Yeah, that's right.
So 100. Wow.
Yeah, and there was a lot of debate about how effective he was as president and that leadership. But there really is no debate about the fact that he was a good man.
Yeah, and I think that he'll be remembered for that. I don't know what the plans are from here on out, but we're going to be in a state of respect and mourning. It's just, it's for those of us who lived through Carter into Reagan. I mean, I was a young reporter when Reagan was governor of California, and he'd come in the studio all the time, you know, and then lived through Jimmy Carter and then the Bushes and the Fords and all that, you know, and the Nixons.
Yeah,
So-
what was the? Do you remember what was the flavor of the campaign between Reagan and Carter? Was there this severe animosity that seems to exist today?
You know, I would say there probably. I'm trying to remember, but at the same time, look, there's always this tension.
Right.
But I will say this: it wasn't as animus as you see today.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was respectfully different. I don't think it was as personal as it's gotten today, if I remember correctly. But
yeah, I think it boiled more down to policy and policy differences rather than personal.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't digging and you're a jerk and I'm a nice guy and you're a jerk. I mean, it wasn't anything like that. You know, it wasn't name calling. But anyway, we'll see how the next several days unfold in respect to Jimmy Carter passing away yesterday at the age of 100. Wow, quite a deal. All right, let's check out the weather with a guy that never ages.
After an atmospheric river brought impressive rain totals, things should calm down a bit, but showers continue in northern Oregon and southern Washington, with highs in the mid-40s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville with a light south wind. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with showers likely in amounts less than 1/10 of an inch possible from Salem and Albany through Corvallis and Eugene with highs in the mid-40s. In central Oregon, partly sunny with a high near 41 in Prineville and 37 in Bend. A slight chance of snow, then mostly cloudy in mid-30s in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, partly sunny and near 40. Along the Oregon coast, a chance of showers in upper 40s for Coos Bay and low 50s in Port Orford. A chance of rain, then mostly sunny in low 50s in Brookings and Crescent City, California with a light and variable wind. In southern Oregon, patchy, dense fog, then mostly cloudy with daytime highs in the mid-40s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. Patchy fog in the Klamath Basin, then mostly cloudy in upper 30s. Into northern California, partly sunny in upper 30s in Wairika, sunny in mid-50s in Redding and Chico with lows in the mid-30s. In Sacramento, areas of fog, then clearing to sunny and near 54. In the Bay Area, patchy frost, then sunny in mid-50s with a freeze warning tonight for Santa Rosa and Napa. In San Francisco, mostly sunny with a high near 56. And today in San Jose, areas of fog, then sunny and 57 with a frost advisory tonight. It's a look at your Monday weather on the Dove.
Clear and cold, and there it is, a little snow flurry up there, fresh snow on the ground, 10 inches, everything you want for you dream people. I guess it's open all week, right?
Yeah, we're on holiday schedule now.
So by the way, when you went past the aerial chair, you're going up there.
Yeah.
Did you kind of wave at it, look at it?
I looked here it comes. In fact, that's the tower right up there in front of that chair.
That's it?
And yep. And I looked at that, I thought, okay, can I tell? You can't tell that they did any work on it. It just looks perfect.
Look at all that snow.
Yeah, and look at the snow.
They should have put a Band-Aid on it.
They should have put something on it.
They should have strapped 2 keys inside with a splint, you know?
That's right. But look at that. Look at the coverage.
Look at that.
Just tremendous. So what a day. And a lot of people sure were enjoying it. So, well, looking back in history, especially as we commemorate the life of President Carter, because it was on this day in history, shortly after the death of JFK, that Congress authorized the Kennedy $50.
In 1963, just over 1 month after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy, a nation still in mourning sought a way to honor his legacy. The U.S. Congress, recognizing the profound impact of Kennedy's presidency, moved swiftly to create a coin in his memory. On December 30th, they authorized the production of the Kennedy $50, designed by famed sculptor Gilroy Roberts. The coin featured a striking profile portrait of the late president. When the coin was first released in March of 1964, it became an instant symbol of remembrance. A line a block long formed at the department's windows in Washington to purchase the 70,000 coins initially allocated for public sale. Although the department limited sales to 40 per customer, by the end of the day, the coins were gone, but the line had not shortened. Banks in Boston and Philadelphia quickly rationed supplies, but still sold out by noon. Sales in New York did not begin until the following day, and rationing was imposed there as well. The Kennedy half dollar went on to become one of the most iconic coins in U.S. history.
And that 1964 Kennedy half dollar, you know what the biggest difference between it and the modern Kennedy half dollar? That one actually had silver in it. 90% silver.
Yeah. I saw a Pawn Star episode where the guy brought in like 30,000 ounces of gold.
Oh, really?
And it was in not gold, excuse me, of silver.
Oh, silver, okay.
And brought it in bags, and it was coins, it was dimes and quarters. And the problem was they had to look at every coin to make sure that it was silver.
Sure.
Because you have to look on the side to see if there's any coloring difference.
Yeah.
So they had to go through all those coins before they could buy sacks and sacks.
Well, I'll tell you what. Remember the old man? He was Rick's dad.
Yeah.
They called him the old man.
The old man.
And he loved buying silver.
He did.
He never passed on buying silver.
It was the inflation hedge for him.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So the Panama Canal is another thing that's floating around out there, and President-elect Trump was on Turning Point talking about it and said that somehow the canal is a non-negotiable. And I'm not sure what he means, but here it is.
A secure Panama Canal is crucial for U.S. commerce and rapid deployment of the Navy from the Atlantic all the way to the Pacific. It's an incredible thing, and drastically cut shipping times down to U.S. ports by days and even weeks. The United States is the #1 user of the Panama Canal, with over 72% of all transits heading to or from U.S. ports. Think of that. So we built it. We're the ones that use it. They gave it away. Considered one of the one of the great wonders of the world. The Panama Canal opened for business 110 years ago and was built at huge cost to the United States, and it really is big when you consider the lives and the treasure, the equivalent of $1.2 trillion today. You don't hear those numbers. 38,000 American men, almost all men, they went there to be construction workers and dig. They were diggers. And they were brave. 38,000 men died from infected mosquitoes in the jungles of Panama during the construction period. Think of that. We lost 38,000 men. Teddy Roosevelt was president of the United States at the time of its building and understood the strength of naval power and trade. When President Jimmy Carter foolishly gave it away for $1. During his term in office, it was solely for Panama to manage and not for China or any other country to manage. You see what's going on there? China.
Wow.
Well, so where we're going to go about this and how we're going to go about it. I think the staggering part about this is that data he gave, we didn't even know, and we long forgot.
Yeah.
And here it sits down there, and how critical it is to everything that we are, how critical it is to our security and to our commerce. So I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know what he has in mind, but I thought only a capitalist, only a businessman can look at an ROI of something and determine whether it's a good deal or not. He took a lot of heat when he went bankrupt his places down in Atlanta, the casino and all that.
Right.
You know what that was? That was a business decision.
Sure. Yeah.
Cut your losses, get out, and move on.
Yeah.
And that's called business. And don't get me wrong, it's hard decisions to make, but somewhere along the line you got to stop the bleeding. But no, in government we just keep feeding it.
That's a great point, because the government never recognizes that.
Yeah, so anyway, we'll see where this goes. The Panama Canal, why is that in the news? Whoa.
Well,
okay.
yeah, and it makes sense, though, because the more we learn about Chinese involvement, the more we get alarmed.
Yeah, well, there we go.
Yeah.
This is pretty amazing. All right, let's see. Cinnamon roll investigation. We'll be right back.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Breakfast served daily until 2 p.m. Breakfast burritos, biscuits and gravy, skillets, omelets, and more. Sweet Tea Express. Don't get caught hungry.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Hi, Perry Atkinson here. You know, the Dove has a very important year-end need, and that is to raise an extra $217,000 to keep the Dove soaring. This critical need pays for our tower leases for another year and distribution fees across the network. We hope that you've had a chance to prayerfully consider a special year-end gift today. Please don't take from your church or any other ministry the Lord has you involved in. Only do what He calls you to do. You can go online or call us today. And please know that your donation is changing lives for good.
The biblical instructions for coming to Christ are repentance and faith. So repentance, that is turning away from your lifestyle of sin, and faith, trusting in the Lord Jesus Christ alone.
There is truth in this world because God created it, and His Word is truth. We see this laid out in the Bible, the foundation to a reasonable faith, and that faith is centered on Jesus Christ and His great work.
All right, welcome back. A couple days ago, I had a fascinating, second time I've had Kanza Haddock on. She's just a fascinating person. And she's now a Christian, and she evangelizes, but she was an ex-Muslim. And here's a little bit of her story of how she came out of that.
It was when I understood that I have a God who loves me. And because, you know, part of my story was I had the wrong perspective of who God was. And I was convinced that the God of my understanding hated me. So when I understood that God loves me, it gave me sort of just like a spark of hope. And that alone was enough. Now, it was a step-by-step, and it took a couple of years for me to work out just that depression, because it tried to come back. And so I needed to spend time with God. And I know this is something that I drill day in and day out. But if we don't know the character of God and we don't know who we are in Christ, then, I mean, we're toast. We're going to fall into depression and anxiety. I remember the peace I felt when I saw Jesus, when heaven opened and I saw Him coming down. I felt a peace I had never felt in my whole entire life. See, prior to that, anxiety might as well have been my middle name. I mean, I thought that's what people lived like their whole life. I thought that was the norm, and the best way to describe anxiety, just if anybody's listening and they don't know what anxiety feels like, because every once in a while I'll have like a spouse or a parent ask me that question, and I say, this is what anxiety feels like to someone. Imagine you're driving on the road and you look in the rearview mirror and you see those red blue lights, you're getting pulled over and your heart rate skyrockets. That's what anxiety feels like to somebody but except it's like a day in and day out feeling. So that's how I lived my whole life. And then I saw Jesus, and I just felt this peace. I cannot describe it. It just overtook me, and I was like, there's something about him.
The peace that passes all understanding.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing. So
Wow.
I have a question. You know, when you're driving a car and all of a sudden the red and blue lights come on behind you.
You're assuming that that's happened.
Well,
okay.
You're human, are you?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So and that's the first beginning signs of anxiety?
Oh, boy.
So I'll ask a question and we'll take a break.
Well.
What is the guy feeling who flips those lights on and he's pulling you over? We'll be right back.
Wait a minute. We can't be right back.
Well,
Hold on.
Okay.
We're going to be right back in a minute.
Oh,
but
I'm sorry.
Let's take a look at plant life. You know, plant life's important on Earth, especially in the seed. And now there are some methods taking place to replant. Take a look at this. Okay.
In the deep blue sea, a new hero was born, the robotic reef-gen grasshopper. With powerful jets, it can dart through the water with ease. This mechanical marvel was designed to help restore the ocean's delicate seagrass beds and coral reefs. In just 1 minute, the grasshopper could plant dozens of seagrass seeds or seagrass shoots, a task that would take humans hours, if not days, to achieve. Its nimble design allows it to reach remote, hard-to-access areas, avoiding the dangers human divers faced, like strong currents and unpredictable sea life, or also what's known as the 4 Ds, dull, dirty, dangerous, or distant locations. And in tests, seagrass has begun to sprout, potentially creating lush underwater meadows, bringing oxygen and shelter to countless marine creatures. The reef-gen grasshopper isn't just faster, it could be a game changer for ocean conservation, ensuring a healthier future for our seas.
Government project.
Yeah. That's why it's working.
That's why it's working, yeah.
Good stuff all the way around. All right, so back to the question.
Okay.
What does the guy feel that, or the gal, that flips on the red and blue lights that would pull you over?
That's a great question.
What's the feeling they have?
Yeah, because they never know what they're getting when they pull you over.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, they may run your plate and see if you have, say, you know, that owner has warrants or something like that. But generally, they don't know what they're going to get.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the most. You talk about anxiety.
Yeah.
So there's equal anxiety. It's just different perspective.
Right. Right.
Okay. Yours, what did I do wrong? Theirs, well, what am I getting?
No, but mine wasn't what did I do wrong. Mine was
how do I get out?
I knew what I did wrong.
Well, I pulled the Biden card here. I mean, the building card. Yeah.
I never do that.
Okay.
No, ever.
That's an inside joke.
Yeah.
That's inside baseball. All right, 1 John 3:22. And whatever we ask, we receive from him. Why? Because we keep his commandments and do what pleases him. It's conditional on you keeping his commandments and pleasing him. Then you can ask. All right, good morning to you. A lot going on. Drive carefully. Pretty cold and icy in a lot of spots, and more weather coming. That and a whole lot more in just a moment. Whoa, look at that.
Looking for the perfect RV adventure?
Team Toner's got you covered from homes to homes on wheels.
Discover unbeatable deals only at American RV in Southern Oregon.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Hi, Dad, father and son jewelry. Looking for engagement rings? Ovals, round, pear shapes, and more. All a third off at Father and Son Jewelry.
And let's not forget about our fellas. With Lashbrook, you can have it your way. From plain bands, precious or alternative, thick or thin, we can add stones, engravings, and inlays. Lashbrook can do it all.
Father and Son Jewelry.
Your family jeweler since 1958.
Visit Father and Son Jewelry, 5 generations of family in Medford.
Hello, everyone in Dove Land. My name is Todd Friel, host of Wretched TV, inviting you to join us for Wretched, the TV program I host. If you have evangelism heebie-jeebies, you're terrified to share your faith.
Feeling the holiday rush? Work piling up? Family gatherings overwhelming? Holiday anxiety doesn't have to steal your joy. At theDove.us, you'll find life-changing hope and real peace to restore your heart and mind this holiday season. Choose joy, calm, and connection. Turn to theDove.us and discover the peace waiting for you. Hope is just a click away.
Please help with a special year-end gift today so that we can continue transmitting and distributing our signal through the Dove Network. Thank you. Well, good morning to you. Hey, happy Monday after the week that was into the week that will be. As we wrap up 2024, it's hard to believe, and move into 2025. Good morning. I'm here, and so is Jerry.
Barely after that weather front came through.
I know. He's weathered the storm. He's weathered the aerial chair at Mount Ashland.
Yes, yeah.
He's weathered high water over his bridge at home.
Yeah.
I think you were subconsciously hoping that the water would be over the bridge and you wouldn't have to come in today.
You know, I got to tell you the truth. We were talking about it on the way back down the mountain yesterday. We said, what will we do? What are we going to do if the water's over the bridge? Pam said, well, it's a good thing. You know, we got vehicles on this side of the bridge that we can get to work. I said, yeah, but mine's a camper.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She goes, that's okay. You can go to work in a camper.
Well, there you go. You can hear him turning off Highway 62
well, that's
off out
true
there.
Too, yeah.
Anyway, good morning to you. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. Happy New Year almost, coming up to 2025. It's hard to believe that 25 years ago we were storing rice and beans and water.
Wow.
And,
25 years. Think of that.
That's pretty crazy.
That is.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Man.
Anyway, good morning to you. Anything special?
Yeah, it is Falling Needles Family Fest Day.
Oh, in other words, take the tree down.
Take the tree down. There are many recycling options. A lot of places you take them out to the curb, right?
Yeah, I think there are groups that pick them up now for you. But how many people? You know what I didn't see this year?
What?
Were a bunch of Christmas tree lots.
You know, you're right.
Usually they were on every corner. I
Yeah.
think people are going to artificial trees.
A lot of people are. You know, we used to go to the farms. You know, people would grow. And I remember we went to a tree farm once, and we got, you know, the tree that we spend hours trying to find it, got it home, and as I'm decorating, found a football inside of it. Now, some people find owls and things inside of theirs, and that's.
I saw that where the owl came down came down the chimney and landed on top of it.
On top of the tree, it was like the star up there. It was the owl.
It was the owl.
Imagine that, looking up there and seeing him.
Can you imagine getting up, Christmas, one of those things looking at you down there?
No. And who removes an owl?
Huh?
Who removes an owl if you have one in your house?
Well, don't you?
Who do you call?
Don't you? Well, an exterminator?
You don't want to exterminate it, do you?
Well, but I mean, don't they catch things and release them?
I don't know. Do you call the state fish and game? Are there pest control? Well, who do you call?
You get your biggest fish net out of your boat.
Yeah, my salmon net. Yeah, salmon net.
And you take it outside and let it go.
Well. And then when you're all done getting your tree out, get the needles out. And good luck. It may take years for that to happen, but it is a good time to take it out because Oh, boy. Oh, dried out Christmas trees are extremely combustible. I mean, it's amazing.
Okay, I saw a video over the weekend since we're kind of on this.
Yeah.
People hang wreaths, live wreaths over their mantle.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Not a good thing to do.
Yeah, we have a wreath over our mantle, but it is like my tree.
Okay, well,
yeah.
Yeah, but they showed a picture of a fireplace and the heat and combustion that thing, and all of a sudden, woof.
Now I know there are a lot of people, there are a lot of diehard people that love natural trees. And for years and years and years, we were there. And we would go out, cut the most ungainly, largest, hardest to get into the house tree we could get our hands on. And we did it for years and years. And like I said, we'd spend hours out on the lot, finding it, cutting it, doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then we were at one of my sons, my oldest, on Thanksgiving one year, not long ago. And we're sitting there, on the couch after you eat too much and you got the football on and you're like, and I watched my son and his girls come out and they grabbed their artificial tree and they headed up in like 5 minutes. As I was sitting there, I wasn't even digesting my Thanksgiving dinner, and their tree is up. And I'm looking at it, and I said, Pam, what's wrong with this picture? We haven't even started. It's going to take us longer than that just to get to the lot. What are we doing?
I know.
Yes.
So, moral of that story is, invite your grandkids over to put your tree up, and invite your grandkids back to take it down.
Right. But the nice
Turn
thing
it into
about
a party.
The nice thing about our grandkids now, they're old enough that, see, we used to have a layer on the tree that no ornaments of glass were below a certain layer. It was all plastic.
Dogs?
No, grandkids.
Oh, grandkids. Got it.
So now they've learned, that they can't mess with that. So now we can bring glass lower. But for years, if you look, there was a line of demarcation, and it was plastic.
Good
so
stuff.
anyway, it's also National Bicarbonate of Soda Day.
All right.
And,
Settle your stomach after
look
a
at
food
all
coma.
the uses for bicarbonate of soda. And the only thing I really use it's a good cleaner, and it will also help your digestive tract a little bit if you have what we call acid reflux, which is the old days it was just heartburn.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, whatever it is now. Everything gets a new name.
Does bacon give you heartburn?
Does what?
Bacon.
No,
because it's bacon day.
Oh.
And it's not just for breakfast. You can put it just about on anything.
Do you like it soft or crispy?
Yeah.
I shouldn't have asked that question.
Yeah, I like it either way. I don't really care. I don't want it burnt, but a crispy is great. And do you like bacon crumbles? And
I like a Caesar salad.
Oh, yeah.
With a hard-boiled egg and bacon bits in it.
Check it out. Bacon is a very popular food in the United States. In 2020, over half of the U.S. population said they used a pound or more of bacon that year. How about that? And you can also find many items flavored or scented with bacon, including popcorn, soap, candles, air fresheners, and much more.
Well, I do know that, didn't they make this alarm clock that when...
Oh, what an idea!
It went off 5 minutes before your alarm did, and it was the smell of bacon.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that was pretty cool.
All right.
All right, 6 minutes past the hour. Well, here's bacon building.
After an atmospheric river brought impressive rain totals, things should calm down a bit, but showers continue in northern Oregon and southern Washington, with highs in the mid-40s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville with a light south wind. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with showers likely in amounts less than 1/10 of an inch possible from Salem and Albany through Corvallis and Eugene with highs in the mid-40s. In Central Oregon, partly sunny with a high near 41 in Prineville and 37 in Bend. A slight chance of snow, then mostly cloudy in mid-30s in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, partly sunny and near 40. Along the Oregon coast, a chance of showers in upper 40s for Coos Bay and low 50s in Port Orford. A chance of rain, then mostly sunny in low 50s in Brookings and Crescent City, California, with a light and variable wind. In southern Oregon, patchy, dense fog, then mostly cloudy with daytime highs in the mid-40s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. Patchy fog in the Klamath Basin, then mostly cloudy in upper 30s. Into northern California, partly sunny in upper 30s in Wairika, sunny in mid-50s in Redding and Chico with lows in the mid-30s. In Sacramento, areas of fog, then clearing to sunny and near 54. In the Bay Area, patchy frost, then sunny in mid-50s with a freeze warning tonight for Santa Rosa and Napa. In San Francisco, mostly sunny with a high near 56. And today in San Jose, areas of fog, then sunny and 57 with a frost advisory tonight. It's a look at your Monday weather on the Dove.
Okay, there you go, buddy.
My goodness.
Looks like a little fog has set in on top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And fog and snow combined.
Still more snow.
And it's cold up there, 20 degrees. They got 10 inches in the last 24 hours or so.
And you know what? It's interesting, too, because that mountain is close to us, Mount Ashland. We can look from the valley up, and we can see the ski runs and stuff. But it gets its own, like, microclimate up there.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
And we came down in the snow yesterday, and we got down the valley, and it was relatively clear.
Yeah, and it was warm.
Yeah, and warm, yeah. But, well, we've heard the phrase, it doesn't, acorn doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah.
And, boy, here's a case in point. It's the first time we've seen him. It's Bayless Connolly's son, Harrison, and he has a word of encouragement for us.
For I know whom I have believed, and I'm persuaded that he's able to keep. He's able to keep what I've committed to him until that day. And in this case, Paul is talking about committing to God his life, his salvation, committing to him the results of his ministry. He says this in the I am persuaded that he's able to keep, he's able to guard, he's able to hold the things that I've committed to him. This morning, let me ask you a question. What have you committed to the Lord's keeping? Your family? Your kids? Some of you, you've got college students that have gone away to school and you're no longer in a position where you can control what they're being exposed to. Have you committed your college students to God's keeping? Have you committed your future? Have you committed your finances, your business, your career? How about most importantly, have you committed your eternity to him? Jude, the brother of Jesus, would write this in Jude 1:24, now to him, to God, who is able to keep you, to guard and hold you, able to keep you from stumbling and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Bayless's son.
Yeah.
That's the first time we've ever heard from him.
Yes.
Wow, what a guy.
I think we're going to hear more.
I think we're going to hear more.
Yeah.
All right, good morning to you. Let's take a look at some of the top stories for you today. And, of course, we wake up today as a result of yesterday's news that Jimmy Carter has passed away. The 39th president of the United States has passed away at the age of 100. We'll have more on him coming up in a few moments, but he was an amazing guy. He went from peanut farmer, actually he went from the Naval Academy back to the peanut farm in Plains, Georgia, worked his way into the school board, worked his way to state senator, worked his way to governor, and then after his first term as governor, he announces he's going to run for president, and what's he do? He goes out and wins it.
Yeah.
And quite the guy. He's known for a lot of things. We'll have more of an in-depth report on him. But there are a few comments, and here is President Biden shares his memory of President Carter.
I'll always cherish having seen Jimmy and Rosalind Carter together. Theirs was a love affair of the ages. While we'll miss them both dearly, I do take some solace, and the kids were saying it, that they're united once again. We're going to remain forever in our hearts, but they're together again. The entire Carter family, on behalf of the world, the whole nation, we send our whole heartfelt sympathies and gratitude. Our gratitude for sharing President Carter with us for so many years. You know, Jimmy Carter stands as a model of what it means to live a life of meaning and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've read where President Biden has been asked. This was quite some time ago now. I don't know if that's changed. This was reported right after Rosalind Carter's memorial that President Carter had asked President Biden to do the eulogy when he passes. So I guess that's yet to be seen if it will happen.
Yeah, I wonder.
But I would imagine over the next week or so, we're going to see a lot in this country. We're going to see a funeral of a former president.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go through the election, possibly, of the Speaker of the House on January 3rd. January 6th is going to be the qualification of the Electoral College, the acceptance of the Electoral College for President-elect Trump. All this is going to be happening in the next few days. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Not to mention that Oregon's going to beat Ohio in the Rose Bowl. thought I'd throw that out there.
I'm glad you said that.
Okay. Well, all right. Other news. Mega poll over in the UK shows that the Farage party is on the move.
Mm-hmm.
The government left-wing party could lose its majority of nearly 200 seats in the parliament, in a large part to Farage and his Reform UK party, which has gone from 5 to 72. This is the residual impact of what's happening in America.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people call it the Trump effect, and I guess you can maybe rightfully say that, but basically it's the people effect.
Yeah.
People have had enough of nonsense. They've had enough of crazy. They had enough of anti-nature. And nature's God, and they're pushing back. And it's even in the UK, it's in France, and it's in Canada.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, the poll shows that he could go from 5 to 72 seats, which could possibly put him in the driver's seat. In the meantime, like I said, Macron in France is in trouble, and of course Trudeau is in trouble. And his ex-advisor, former advisor to Prime Minister Trudeau, said that after Trudeau went to Mar-a-Lago, and President Trump, in his, I don't know if it's flippantness or of his actual strategy, said, why don't you become governor of our 51st state? This is a prime minister that has left his people. People don't like him. They want him out. He's only there because of the term. They want him out badly. And then since it's been suggested that the great one, Wayne Gretzky, come in and take his place, it has set a firestorm in Canada.
Yeah.
And basically, they're saying anybody but Trudeau. And I've had people on the air that are in the know that say that he'd probably be gone by Valentine's Day. I don't think Gretzky is interested.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as Donald Trump said, President-elect Trump said, he probably could run and not spend a dime and win.
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably true.
But Canada is in for a change. Now, if and when, they're saying now, Trudeau resigns, his vice president or equivalent thereof has already resigned. Does this throw the nation into a general election, which means parliament seats could change as well?
No idea.
We don't know what's going to go on up there, but a lot of the Canadians up there kind of like the idea of becoming the 51st state of America.
How long ago was Trudeau voted into office?
I think 15.
So what happened?
Snotty-nosed kid that doesn't know what he's doing.
Okay. I think you're right.
His dad was, prime minister there for a while.
Yeah.
And so he was kind of brought up in the shadow of all that. But he's a globalist. He's an idealist. He's a really far left thinker. And it came out when he threw pastors in church. He went against the Teamsters.
They really overreacted on COVID up there.
Yeah.
Really badly.
And it was really, really bad.
Yeah.
And so people have had enough of this nonsense. I think part of leadership is knowing when to step aside. And boy, but do I wrestle with that. And the point being is that, you don't want, I thought there is one example in my lifetime of somebody doing it right. There's many examples, but the one that's the most recognizable is Billy Graham.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Okay, and how he handled his own ministry was amazing to me. But so many political leaders stay too long.
That's a good point, too, because look at the Billy Graham ministry and how strong and how much it's continued to grow. That's a great point.
Yeah, and I think what you have here is you got to know when to exit, you got to know when to go. And that's why I think he's starting to read the tea leaves. And I think the other thing he's trying to figure out is, how do I get out of this with a lot of money?
Oh.
What are my bennies when I step out?
Oh.
So there's probably a lot going on.
Yeah.
That's just me. I have no idea if I'm right or wrong. So anyway, Trudeau
you might be right.
Trudeau has got a headache. It's called Don.
Can you say
He's got the Don ache.
Can you say governor?
Huh? He's got the Don ache. Well, you take Canada. You take, I don't know what the interest is in Greenland. I'm yet to get some information on that. Then you take the Panama Canal.
Right.
You just kind of shake your head. And you know what? I think one thing that President Trump-elect is doing is creating a new Monopoly game.
That could be.
You know, I'll give you California for Canada.
I'm going to buy the Panama Canal.
I'm going to buy the Panama Canal, and you can have Mexico. How's that? We'll be right back.
Oh, man.
Bulls, bears, and other market beasts. How can you be sure they won't eat your investments alive? I'm Michelle Slate. Lighthouse Financial shines guiding light on retirement, investing, and insurance. As you navigate the stormy seas of investing, Lighthouse stands out as a beacon of hope, offering you wise counsel and biblically responsible investing. Lighthouse Financial. Call us today, 541-494-1034.
Stewardship begins with the knowledge that nothing belongs to us, but everything belongs to the Lord. This helps us to run a business not in the fear of lack, but in the assurance of His care and provision. Such a perspective eliminates the drive to sell and replaces it with a heart that says serve. This begins with serving our clients and coworkers with integrity and genuine care. That's why at Kelly's, it's automotive service with a heart for God, and treating others as we ourselves would want to be treated. Our promise is to never sell our clients anything we don't believe they need. Another is to do all we can to meet other needs, such as shuttle service and loaner cars, or taking the time to really listen, even at times praying with our customers. Sometimes this means sacrifice, going above and beyond, but that's why I work for Kelly's Automotive Service, honoring God while serving people with honesty and integrity.
Disasters happen, and Oregon faces a range of disaster threats, including earthquakes, floods, and storms. You can prepare now by taking 3 important steps. Create a home inventory, make copies of important financial records, and contact your insurance company to make sure you have the right amounts and types of home insurance coverage. Be disaster ready by being insurance ready. Visit dfr.oregon.gov/prepare now to learn how.
Welcome back. Happy Monday. You know, tomorrow. Anybody working? Have you noticed this?
Anybody working? Yeah, I know some people that are working.
I want to say this carefully, okay? Have you noticed that on all the network television people, they got the B, C, and D teams out there?
That's true. Yeah.
Not for you folks. You still got the A guys there. We're going to give you the A team no matter what. We're here for you, man. We're here for you.
All right.
But have you noticed? I think what it is, it's the bullpen. They throw everybody out there and see who can shine the best. Which is a good deal.
Sure.
I mean, you know, if we had the resources, we'd probably do it too.
Yeah, and I'm sure, you know, the members of the bullpen are
Yeah, you just bring them all out. You throw them on the set for a couple of hours and see how they do.
See who's got a good fastball.
Yeah. And you're looking at this and you go, well, that's pretty good. She's got potential. He ought to go off, you know. So I'm watching all the networks going, well, there's the new string coming up, you know.
Right. Yes.
So
that's terrific. Yeah.
That's my take. I want to say, folks, for those of us who in 1997 on New Year's Day, I got called back in to the office. I called myself back in. And I was on the air for almost 10 hours reporting flood conditions of 1997 when we had a warm storm come through like we did yesterday, and all of a sudden the snow was melting like crazy.
Yeah.
What you see here is some pictures of the Rogue River in our own backyard. And yesterday, all of this stuff crested around 12 noon to 1 o'clock yesterday. And just to give you a little bit of an idea, this pictures here that you're seeing, this is Rogue River. Now, up at Dodge Bridge, which is a little further up by your area there, yesterday when it peaked, it was 9.8 feet high, higher than normal, running at 18,000 cubic feet per second. That is a lot of water.
Yeah.
Okay. Then as it got down into Grants Pass, where you have more tributaries contributing to the problem, it rose 16 feet and it was running at 40K, and all this peaked yesterday around noon. That's the Rogue River in our own backyard. A lot of flood, a lot of roads were covered with water. standing water in fields everywhere. This warm storm brought us right to the very edge of major problems. Down on the Klamath River, which is so interesting because, you know, the dams have been removed there, and it's a whole other set of circumstances. The Klamath River peaked at 14.6 feet, running at 34K at noon yesterday.
Oh, my word.
Now, that's down a little bit further down from where the dams are. That's a little bit further down. That's below the Scott River area.
Wow.
So it's all of this is expected to come down, but folks, we were spared major problems. The Bear Creek in our own backyard, the irrigation canal, all full of water. Every little trickle of water coming out of the hills was full bore.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so there we go. And this is portions of the Rogue River shows you how fast it's moving. And the only thing I say is don't underestimate the power of water.
Oh, you are so right. Yeah. I mean, overnight, it made a mini Grand Canyon out of my driveway.
Yeah.
I mean, just one trickle of water that got over the little ditch area and then went right down the middle and wiped it out. So you are right.
Now, with this kind of volume of water going down these major rivers, when you're talking 18,000 feet per second, and then it gets down to 34 or 40,000 feet, I mean, that as it grows, as it goes out, you got a couple of problems. It literally reshapes the river. That water is so powerful. You're thinking, if it's running at, you know, I don't know what's it running, 30 miles an hour there, I don't know what the speed is. But at 8 pounds per gallon, it moves rocks, trees, and everything else.
Yes, it does.
And so it reshapes the river. So we won't know in the spring until what the river's really going to look like.
That's why we shudder when it gets up towards our bridge on Elk Creek, because when it goes, when it reaches our bridge, when it goes over, it's called the 100-year floodplain. It goes out onto the, you know, in 25 years, it's gone over my bridge 3 times.
Really?
The 100-year floodplain, 3 times in 25 years.
So we came very, very close over the weekend of having a major problem. And the only thing I can say is thank you, Lord. It's all working out. The temperatures went to freezing last night, freezing this morning. And the incoming storm will be a whole lot colder. So we look forward to all that. But, you know, the other thing is you'll have to relearn your fishing holes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What happens to the fish on conditions like this? Do they just get blown out, or are they hiding behind rocks? What's going on?
They're Mother Nature is amazing. You know, they said it would be 5 years before salmon came back up to Klamath. They were up there in 6 months.
Right, isn't that weird? Yeah.
And all the way past where the dams were and up tributaries. So nature being what they're behind rocks, they're buried down. And this thing is going to fall significantly today. Those numbers come way down today, but they're still high, but they'll come way down. The main thing you want to make sure is that hopefully this spring it gets back to where they can get to spawning and all the things that they're supposed to do.
Yep, and you know we have good snowpack right now, and that'll be added to, and and then we'll have the reservoirs full of water and.
And the runoff will fill the reservoirs, the temperatures will be cold. Everything's going in the right direction.
It's all good.
Thank you, Lord.
Absolutely.
All right, good morning to you. Let's take a look at Wall Street for a Monday. Let's see what's going to happen. Is there a Christmas, New Year burst here? Oh, by the way, thank you, Preston. He's the guy that brings us to you. Ooh, look at this. Wow. Oh, my stars. The Dow's off 642 points. The Nas is down 354 points. And the S&P is down 93 points. I'm going to guess it's just the reality of inflation.
Yeah.
I don't know what else is going to do this unless it's the Panama Canal. Gold's down to $26.23. Silver's just under $30 at $29.68. And crude oil, sure, it would go up on a crisis like this. So back up to $74.32. Wow, that's a dump. That is a dump. It could also be year-end selling. You get to this last year and you look at your profit margins and people are going to sell, take a loss, take a gain, whatever they're going to do. So that could be a big deal, be a big part of it.
You know, we've talked about the fact that there really aren't any blue states. There are really blue cities.
Yeah.
And we saw, especially in recent election cycles, that a number of the voters in these blue cities voted to defund the police.
Yeah.
So how's that working out for folks?
Not very well.
I don't think so. And on Newsmax's America Right Now, Citizens Behind the Badge founder Craig Floyd discusses the decline of defund the police.
Well, let's not call it dead. Let's say it's on life support, Tom. It's been a disaster. It started in 2020. Cities and towns across this country cut hundreds of millions of dollars from their police budgets. Crime was rampant. We hadn't seen violent crime at this rate since the early 1990s. And we lost about 37,000 talented and experienced police officers. That was the damage that was done. So last month, the voters in this nation said enough is enough. We're sick and tired of politicians that are coddling criminals instead of supporting our police. We saw Donald Trump soundly defeat Kamala Harris, who was an early and strong supporter of the defund the police movement. We saw 12 of the 25 George Soros connected soft on crime prosecutors in this country either defeated or recalled last month. And in California, one of the most liberal states in the nation, they passed overwhelmingly Proposition 36, which toughened penalties for drug and theft crimes. This is unheard of in a liberal country, a liberal state like California. And on top of that, a lot of the states and localities that had cut police funding are now restoring funds, thankfully. And the pendulum is starting to swing in the right direction when it comes to police and crime in this country.
That's sitting there.
Okay, well, listen, I think this defund the police thing is about as crazy as, you know, boys and girls locker rooms.
Well,
I mean, it's just against nature.
Right, and I think that's one of the reasons we saw the shift that we saw in this last election cycle.
Yeah.
And now we see a number of these George Soros-backed DAs that were ousted in the last cycle as well, including Gascon down in L.A.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a movement going on.
Yeah. All right, 29 and a half past the hour. We'll take a quick Mount Ashland break.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
You might have said, as many people have said to me, Alex, it's too late. I've wasted years. I'm too far gone. Please don't believe that lie. You can call out to Christ. He will hear you. He will receive you. He has a plan for you. You might have a short time left in this world, you think. God still has a plan for you. And today, God's will for your life will become operative as you turn to Him.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Breakfast served daily until 2 p.m. Breakfast burritos, biscuits and gravy, skillets, omelets, and more. Sweet Tea Express. Don't get caught hungry.
During the time that I reached out to the Salvation Army, I was like at my last hope. And Salvation Army really provided that hope and stability that I needed. And that's why I'm grateful, is because without that, my kids would have grown up too fast.
You should donate to the Salvation Army because every dollar that you give goes directly to changing lives here in our community.
Okay, welcome back. Half past the hour. Of course, over the weekend, the sad news, and yet somewhat expected, the death and the passing of Jimmy Carter, President Jimmy Carter, 39th President of the United States. You know, he's been on hospice over a year. And anyway, quite the humanitarian So a lot of people have put together some documentaries and some reports on him. Here's what Brett Baer reported about the late president.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear.
After the political trauma of Watergate, Jimmy Carter's squeaky clean Baptist background appealed to many Americans. As if to demonstrate there was a new way of doing things in Washington, he began his presidency on a frigid January day in 1977, walking instead of riding the length of Pennsylvania Avenue from the Capitol to the White House, the first president ever to do this. Born in Plains, Georgia in 1924 to peanut farming parents, Carter attended the Naval Academy, earning the rank of lieutenant. In 1946, he married Rosalind Smith and returned to Plains in 1953 to run the family farming business. It was there that Carter developed an interest in politics. He was elected state senator in 1962 and governor of Georgia in 1970.
I am a candidate for president.
When he announced plans to run for president in 1974, Carter was largely an unknown, but he managed to win his party's nomination and edge out incumbent President Gerald Ford by just 2% of the popular vote, one of the closest margins in recent history. President Carter's greatest triumph came in 1978 when he brokered marathon diplomatic talks between Israel's Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat of Egypt. The resulting Camp David Accords ended years of fighting between the two countries.
We've got to stop crying and start sweating. Stop talking and start walking. Stop cursing and start praying.
The late 70s were a time of oil shortages, high unemployment, and double-digit inflation. Carter worked diligently to solve these problems, but the economy slipped into a recession. Then an event that would dominate the remainder of Carter's presidency. Iranian militants captured and held 52 American embassy employees hostage in Tehran. Unable to negotiate their release, Carter ordered a rescue mission, which ended in disaster. 8 American servicemen died when their helicopters collided in the Iranian desert.
Americans in Iran were mistreated.
In 1980, voters rejected Carter's bid for a second term. And to add insult to injury, on the day he left office, the American hostages in Tehran were released to the new Reagan administration. Carter returned to Georgia and through his nonprofit Carter Center remained active in efforts to promote peace around the world. His efforts were successful, and he garnered more respect after he left office than while he was in it, despite countless controversial statements in recent years, including calls for the U.S. to legitimize the terror group Hamas, which is openly committed to the destruction of Israel. He helped convince Haitian military dictator Raúl Cedras to relinquish control of the island nation to elected leader Jean-Bertrand Aristide. He monitored elections in Nicaragua and helped end a standoff over inspection of nuclear facilities between the U.S. and North Korea. Carter was often seen with hammer in hand, building homes for the poor as part of his continuing support for the Habitat for Humanity project. He wrote countless books, including one book of poetry and a memoir. In May 2002, Carter took his first but not last trip to Cuba, the first American president to visit in more than 40 years. He called for the U.S. to end its trade embargo while challenging Fidel Castro to institute democratic reforms. Later that year, the former president won the Nobel Peace Prize for, quote, his decades of untiring effort to find peaceful solutions to international conflicts. During a trip to the Middle East in the summer of 2009, an alleged assassination plot by an al-Qaeda-linked group was uncovered, though the president's aides said they had no knowledge of the plot against him. In the summer of 2010, Carter traveled to North Korea, successfully securing the release of an American citizen who had been sentenced to 8 years of hard labor after allegedly entering the country illegally. Upon his return, Carter advocated the need for a comprehensive peace treaty with the isolated country, arguing Pyongyang was ready to talk and that the U.S. should come to the table. Carter didn't hesitate to criticize the only other living president to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, denouncing President Obama for carrying out widespread drone strikes and warrantless wiretapping. He also said the Obama administration waited too long to respond to the rising threat of ISIS. Just months later, Carter announced he had melanoma that had spread to his liver and brain, tackling the diagnosis with a measure of faith and fortitude. Through his cancer treatment, the former president remained active, continuing his charitable and religious activities.
I don't know what the results will be, but I'm ready for whatever comes.
Months later, he was declared cancer-free. He continued to hammer away at his charitable work with Habitat for Humanity all the way into his 90s.
I feel like we always get more out of it than we put into it, although we work sometimes very hard and overwork on occasion.
And in one of his last major public appearances, made a show of bipartisanship, joining 4 other living presidents at the funeral service of George H.W. Bush in 2018. Amen. Second chances. James Earl Carter thrived on them.
I've had a wonderful life. I've had thousands of friends, and I've had an exciting and adventurous and gratifying existence.
And over time, Americans developed a renewed appreciation for a man who resoundingly lost a re-election bid. This gentleman farmer from Plains, Georgia, who rose to become the 39th president of the United States.
Good report.
Well, we'll see what happens over the next several days, and what the nation will be preparing for, and how they're going to recognize him.
Excuse me. Will there be a large state funeral? Like, remember Reagan's?
I would imagine there's going to be a state funeral. Now, how large, I don't know. I would imagine that maybe as late as today or early as today, he'll be in repose at the Capitol Rotunda.
Okay. Yeah.
And then from there, I don't know what the plans are. It was earlier suggested or told of us that President Biden would be giving the eulogy at his service, but that's yet to be determined. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. That's in the next couple of days. In the meantime, weather, what a weekend. Whoa, water, rain, warm and everything, snow, some rain at the top of the hill, turned to ice, all that. What's ahead? What's ahead?
I don't know.
After an atmospheric river brought impressive rain totals, things should calm down a bit, but showers continue in northern Oregon and southern Washington, with highs in the mid-40s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville with a light south wind. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with showers likely in amounts less than 1/10 of an inch possible from Salem and Albany through Corvallis and Eugene, with highs in the mid-40s. In central Oregon, partly sunny with a high near 41 in Prineville and 37 in Bend. A slight chance of snow, then mostly cloudy in mid-30s in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, partly sunny and near 40. Along the Oregon coast, a chance of showers in upper 40s for Coos Bay and low 50s in Port Orford. A chance of rain, then mostly sunny and low 50s in Brookings and Crescent City, California, with a light and variable wind. In southern Oregon, patchy, dense fog, then mostly cloudy with daytime highs in the mid-40s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. Patchy fog in the Klamath Basin, then mostly cloudy in upper 30s. Into northern California, partly sunny in upper 30s in Wairika, sunny in mid-50s in Redding and Chico with lows in the mid-30s. In Sacramento, areas of fog, then clearing to sunny and near 54. In the Bay Area, patchy frost, then sunny in mid-50s with a freeze warning tonight for Santa Rosa and Napa. In San Francisco, mostly sunny with a high near 56. And today in San Jose, areas of fog, then sunny and 57 with a frost advisory tonight. It's a look at your Monday weather on the Dove.
Imagine we got a little freeze and frost advisories around the Bay Area. And speaking of freeze and frost advisory, there is a great shot of Mount Ashland.
It is beautiful.
It is a winter wonderland.
And the aerial chair is open. There's fresh snow, 10 inches. After the rain and the ice, now I got 10 inches of new snow on top of that.
And speaking of the aerial chair, there it is.
This is you on the chair, and this is the post that got hit.
Yep. And you can't tell the difference. And look at all the snow.
I can't believe the snow.
Look at on the trees. And this was after a hard night of rain even.
Really?
Yeah, but you know what? What happened was on Saturday night, it rained halfway through the night really hard. And then about 3 in the morning or whatever.
Turn the snow?
All of a sudden it went silent. Because it was just raining like crazy. And then it went silent. I thought, guess what? It just turned to snow.
Oh, you were sleeping up there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's really good. I still think what they should have done is just, just a little bit of levity. They should have put a big Band-Aid on that post. Gives the people a really good feeling. Or taken 2 skis and made a splint on each side.
On it. Yes, yes. But it's in great shape. Everything's working great. And so if you get a chance to go up there today, have fun. It is a great situation.
All right.
Well, it was on this day in
history. Heads or tails?
Heads or tails. Do you have any in your pocket?
Nope.
Do you have any at home?
I don't know.
I wonder. Yeah, because it's a pretty common coin.
Yeah.
But it was on this day in history that Congress authorized the Kennedy half-dollar.
In 1963, just over 1 month after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy, a nation still in mourning sought a way to honor his legacy. The U.S. Congress, recognizing the profound impact of Kennedy's presidency, moved swiftly to create a coin in his memory. On December 30th, they authorized the production of the Kennedy half-dollar, designed by famed sculptor Gilroy Roberts. The coin featured a striking profile portrait of the late president. When the coin was first released in March of 1964, it became an instant symbol of remembrance. A line a block long formed at the department's windows in Washington to purchase the 70,000 coins initially allocated for public sale. Although the department limited sales to 40 per customer, by the end of the day the coins were gone, but the line had not shortened. Banks in Boston and Philadelphia quickly rationed supplies, but still sold out by noon. Sales in New York did not begin until the following day, and rationing was imposed there as well. The Kennedy half-dollar went on to become one of the most iconic coins in U.S. history.
And of course, the 64 Kennedy half-dollar was a little different than the current in the sense that it was 90% silver.
Yeah.
In fact, if you melt down to 64, just the silver in there is worth over $10.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. All right, good morning to you. Well, the Panama Canal. I mean, we have gone from Canada being the 51st state. We want to take the Panama Canal back. And I don't know what the deal is with Greenland yet. Might be militarily strategic. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But finally, President-elect Trump explains the Panama Canal issue. And here he is doing it at Turning Point USA.
A secure Panama Canal is crucial for U.S. commerce and rapid deployment of the Navy from the Atlantic all the way to the Pacific. It's an incredible thing, and drastically cut shipping times down to U.S. ports by days and even weeks. The United States is the #1 user of the Panama Canal, with over 72% of all transits heading to or from U.S. ports. Think of that. So we built it. We're the ones that use it. They gave it away. Considered one of the one of the great wonders of the world. The Panama Canal opened for business 110 years ago and was built at huge cost to the United States. And it really is big when you consider the lives and the treasure, the equivalent of $1.2 trillion today. You don't hear those numbers. 38,000 American men, almost all men, they went there to be construction workers and dig. They were diggers, and they were brave. 38,000 men died from infected mosquitoes in the jungles of Panama during the construction period. Think of that. We lost 38,000 men. Teddy Roosevelt was president of the United States at the time of its building and understood the strength of naval power and trade. When President Jimmy Carter foolishly gave it away for $1. During his term in office, it was solely for Panama to manage and not for China or any other country to manage. You see what's going on there? China.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. You know, he, in his way, which is a little hard sometimes, but I had no idea that the Panama Canal was that much of an issue.
Right, I didn't either.
And so here we are all these years later, and I didn't know that China was operating one end of it, and then, which is so strategic, because what they do is they come in and they buy the community everything they need, and that's how they sway the vote. So they were talking about buying and building a bridge, multi-billion-dollar bridge, or some stupid thing.
Yeah.
And they're going to, you know, that's how you sway the people down there. But here he is taking a look at it, and he pulls out the deal and looks at it, you know.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, you know, here we are recognizing the life of the late President Carter, but really one of the things that he did that got him immense criticism is that for $1 he sold a Panama Canal.
Right.
And we kind of go, what was that all about?
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know if this is a breach of a treaty. How in the world do you go about this?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I can't figure it out. So, anyway, that's for the smart guys. All we do is report on it.
Yeah.
And make fun of it.
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of. Unless it's really serious.
Yeah. But when it's worthwhile, we make fun of it.
I think that I just don't understand. I just can't believe that this has been a sleeping thing this important, this close to us.
Yes.
You know? By the way, let's say he pulls it off. I don't know how he does it, but let's say he pulls it off. So what's between the United States and the Panama Canal?
Mexico.
We'll be right back.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter, and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Breakfast served daily until 2 p.m. Breakfast burritos, biscuits and gravy, skillets, omelets, and more. Sweet Tea Express. Don't get caught hungry.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
What kind of life are you living? You want to be a happy person, don't chase happiness, chase after God. Don't try to clean your life up and come to God. Come to God and He will clean your life up. You just come as you are.
Harvest with Greg Laurie, Tuesday and Wednesday on the Dove TV, encouraging and informative.
Thousands of satisfied customers make Jim Clark's Consignment Country the most recommended RV consignment lot on the West Coast. Even dealers recommend us. That success comes from dealing with only the cleanest pre-owned RVs at the best prices, no high-pressured salespeople, and treating customers with respect. And we've been doing this in the same location for over 40 years. Before you buy or sell your RV, see why so many satisfied customers recommend Jim Clark's Consignment Country. Family owned and operated at 1630 Rogue River Highway in Grants Pass.
I saw my mom always dieting and talking about what her body looked like and needing to change her body. Every time I looked at myself in the mirror, there was always something that needed to be better. And I didn't know why I was here, what the purpose of my life was. And I honestly wasn't sure if I wanted to live anymore. Like, that's how dark it was. And I begged God to please show me the purpose of my life.
Watch the 700 Club Monday morning at 11 on the Dove TV.
Welcome back. Happy Monday to you as we starting to wrap up 2024 and head to 2025.
Are you ready for this?
I guess. I'm trying to prepare my mind. I realize a lot of things that happened and didn't happen in 24 as I review I still have like a day timer where I write everything down. So one of the things I do is over the next several days, started last week actually, I start going through the year slowly.
Yeah.
Make a few notes of things that I forgot.
Yeah. Okay.
Things that happen.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll see. 2025, here it comes, whether you're ready or not.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I had Kenza Haddock on. Now, she's really quite the gal. She was a Muslim, became a Christian, and now she is a certified licensed Christian counselor. And she wrote a book called The Three Enemies of Mental Health, of Your Mental Health. And so here are the three.
Yes, the first one is the devil, and that is basically anytime the devil's able to split your faith, even if it's 90% Jesus and 10% another object of your faith. And you don't have to be going to see a medium for me to say, okay, the devil is playing a big part in your life. You can be consulting with your horoscope before you spend time with God. I mean, I have people who do that. They consult with their horoscope first. They'll open that horoscope app way before they read their daily devotional. And so delete your horoscope app. You don't need a protection crystal bracelet. You don't need to wear an evil eye necklace. None of that is helping you, because there is a sufficiency in Christ, and Jesus' blood covers you if you are in Christ. Number 2 is our flesh. It's one thing to tell someone to blame the devil for their problems, Perry. It's another to say, look in the mirror. And so it's a daily practice. We have to be willing to surrender our lives to Jesus day in and day out. And that, it goes back to spending time with him and understanding that he has our best interests at heart. I mean, Romans 8:32 says, if God did not spare his own son, but delivered him up for us all, how can he not also with him give us all things? So in Jesus, God gave us everything. So if he's saying no to that promotion that you didn't get, it's because it was not in your best interest and it was not his best for you. So we have to believe that. The world is, anytime we are tempted to compromise our values, our Christian values, to sort of people please. And so the best way to overcome that, I tell people, is just get with God and pray and ask the Lord God to reestablish and reprioritize your life. Ask him to do that and be serious about it, and you'll see how much he does it. He will reorganize it according to his will.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Well, you might want to get the book. It's called The Three Enemies of Your Mental Health. You know, I thought it was kids that disobey. I thought it was dogs that chew up your carpet.
Yeah, well, she had a great illustration of anxiety.
Yeah.
You know, the red and blue lights flash behind you.
Yeah. That's
instantly.
Yeah.
Everybody can relate. Well, most people can.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right. Well, we know that plant life is vital to the health of the earth, and not only plants on land, but in the sea. And now robotics have entered the deep sea to help replant dwindling seagrass beds.
In the deep blue sea, a new hero was born, the robotic reef-gen grasshopper. With powerful jets, it can dart through the water with ease. This mechanical marvel was designed to help restore the ocean's delicate seagrass beds and coral reefs. In just 1 minute, the grasshopper could plant dozens of seagrass seeds or seagrass shoots, a task that would take humans hours, if not days, to achieve. Its nimble design allows it to reach remote, hard-to-access areas, avoiding the dangers human divers faced, like strong currents and unpredictable sea life, or also what's known as the 4 Ds, dull, dirty, dangerous, or distant locations. And in tests, seagrass has begun to sprout, potentially creating lush underwater meadows, bringing oxygen and shelter to countless marine creatures. The reef-gen grasshopper isn't just faster, it could be a game changer for ocean conservation, ensuring a healthier future for our seas.
How about that?
Well, you ever eat seaweed?
You know what? I have eaten seaweed. As a matter of fact, you know, a little salt on it. You know, hot sauce. Well,
isn't sushi wrapped in a form of seaweed?
Yes. Yeah. Do you like sushi?
Yeah, some of it.
Yeah.
I like it when it's deep fried. I don't know. The raw thing is a little...
Wait a minute. Is deep fried fish sushi?
Well, you know. It's on the menu. It's on the menu.
Yes.
You know, but have you ever had
I'm with you, though. I'm with you, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I like it.
You know, the absolute... And I have been with people, some friends of ours, that just loves raw fish. And I go, okay. I think Pauline is kind of like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Some of it looks like bait.
Yeah, I'm waiting for somebody to come out and grab it out of my mouth. No, I like it deep fried.
Yeah.
All right. I got Ken LaCourte coming up in a few moments. Perfect time to have Brother Ken with us, so stick around for that. In the meantime, 1 John 3:22, and whatever we ask, we receive from him, because why? We keep his commandments and do what pleases him. That's your scripture for today. Drive carefully out there. It is cold. It is icy. Fresh snow and high waters, but they're coming down. Thank you. Look at that picture. Whoa, beautiful shot of Mount Ashland.
finding your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? Want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life? Now's the time to call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Looking for the perfect RV adventure?
Team Toner's got you covered from home to Homes on Wheels.
Discover unbeatable deals only at American RV in Southern Oregon.
Hi, I'm Terry Shamar, Church Relations for Operation Christmas Child in Grants Pass, Oregon. I'm here to talk with you today about a unique opportunity to spread the gospel to children throughout the world by sending a shoebox of love and hope. Each child is precious in God's sight. Jesus said, "Don't hinder the children to come to me." You can be a part of the Great Commission by picking up a shoebox at your local church or any of these locations. Bless these little ones and you will reap a great harvest. Have a wonderful Christmas and God bless you.
The child after my own heart.
Romans 1:20 tells us God's power is revealed in creation. Yet 2 Corinthians 4:4 reminds us that Satan has blinded many to the gospel. At the Life Outdoors, we've seen the truth of God, His eternal power and divine nature displayed in every mountain and stream. Follow along and let's wake the wild within. The mountains don't lie. Where there's truth, there's Jesus.
The Bible, when you think about it, is the ultimate group project. Think about this. It was written by over 40 different authors over a period of 1,500 years. Authors came from various countries. Most of them didn't know one another. They used a variety of styles, and yet it all fit together perfectly. It has one unified theme, and that theme is Jesus Christ.
Please help with a special year-end gift today so that we can continue transmitting and distributing our signal through the Dove Network. Thank you. Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and I always enjoy and honor to have with us Ken LaCourte. He's formerly an executive with Fox News, but then all of a sudden he woke up one day and got out of there. And he's down in the Bay Area now, and he's also the host of Elephants in the Room podcast. It's a great podcast, and that is also, you can go to youtube.com/@elephantsinrooms, right there, elephantsinrooms.com. There at YouTube. And then, of course, his personal website, kenlacourte.substack.com. And there's a picture of the landing page of that. So much to talk to. Brother Ken, good to see you, friend. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. I hope you got some good fried sushi over the Christmas holidays.
With a little seaweed wrapped around it.
We're going to have chocolate broccoli next.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, why not? Why not? Good to see you, buddy. Merry Christmas and almost Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Well, we certainly recognize the passing of the 39th President Jimmy Carter yesterday. Quite the guy in so many ways. How would you, in a short term, I guess, maybe define his presidency?
You know, I think he was actually the right man at the right time in America. I mean, this was after the drama and trauma of Watergate. Ford came in and the pardon, and Ford was kind of a placeholder president. I think he was still getting some of the blowback from Nixon and that whole stuff. And you know, Carter came in promising honesty and openness, and I think that he delivered that. He was a kind of a weak president, and I think that was his undoing. But I think that he had a high standards of decency and of who he was. I think we saw that as much after he was president as we did before, where he didn't go around doing a lot of political things. He spent most of his life building homes for people, and building low-income homes and for people who needed them. So I think that he's somebody that we should remember fondly, even though from a hardcore political aspect, I wouldn't rank him as one of the top presidents. I think he brought a lot to it.
Okay, he did have some accomplishments. The peace agreement between Israel and Egypt was fairly significant at the time.
It was.
But the hostage things, what a blow, especially on Inauguration Day.
The hostage thing, the energy thing, just the kind of, he was a very, very nice guy. And I think as we've just learned in America, sometimes being the nicest guy in the room doesn't necessarily mean you'll be the best president. We're at the opposite. In many ways, he's like the opposite Donald Trump, right? I mean, Donald Trump is a strong leader, has a strong sense of where to go. You count your change maybe sometimes, and he says crazy things, whereas Jimmy Carter was almost the opposite in so many ways.
Do you recall the flavor or the tone of the campaign that got him elected?
I was 11, so I don't recall it all that. But I remember he flashed the big smile. It was, "I'll never lie to you." He was actually the first kind of exercise in recent history of Christian churches getting behind him. I mean, the Christian right kind of came to, they didn't call it that then, but it kind of came to fruition under Jimmy Carter. He was somebody that a lot of people were saying, look, the problem in government right now is morality, not necessarily policy. And the churches got behind him. Now, that in a very real sense, much of Christianity that I remember, including Pentecostal. And then that was something that morphed into and turned into, well, we're also going to have the policies behind what we think is in line with our faith, and Reagan kind of was the beneficiary of that, and Republicans have been certainly with a big strong element of Christianity really ever since up to today.
Well, I was just reflecting earlier, this next week or so is going to be pretty interesting in America. We're probably going to have a state funeral, obviously, for the late president. Mixed into that will be January 3rd, the election of a speaker, if that doesn't spill over into January 6th, which is going to be the solidifying of the Electoral College. So let's kind of pull this apart. Do you think Johnson gets reelected?
I think he does. It doesn't seem like... It doesn't seem like that kind of hardcore conservative group of 20 or 30 is making all that many. They're going to flex their muscle in some points. I don't think that they'll try this kind of rebellion again, if for no other reason than I think Donald Trump would make them pay for it, and I think they understand that deep down.
That was kind of my next thought. Do you think the president-elect's on the phone to those who might be wandering off into the weeds here and say, hey, get in line?
Either that or he just tweets. I was shocked to read his. Did you read his tweet about Jimmy Carter? Every time there's something like that, I read it and I hold my breath, waiting for the but. And it was very nice. It was everything you would hope it would be for somebody wishing a president's passing on that, yeah. And it was good to see that. I think I've been following the president's, we call them tweets, even though it's on Truth Social. Yeah. He's still going to keep his. He's not had a transformation in the sense that he's going to be a tough Jimmy Carter. He has toned down some of a little bit of his edge on some of those things, but he also he's sticking with the theme that brought him, which is he is the kind of in charge guy who is unpredictable and says things that makes your eyes pop open. I was reading one of the biographies of one of the insiders, and they said that when Trump came up to him once, he said, "You know what the secret to a good tweet is?" He said, "Just enough crazy." And I think that he understands it. I think Trump would rather be disliked than be boring. And but we're also seeing a very different Trump. I mean, compare this to 8 years ago, where he was, we were still saying, wow, Donald Trump won, and he was scrambling and didn't really know who to put into what, and there was no kind of, there was a lot of understandable unorganization in that the Republican Party and the insiders in D.C. disliked him as much as the Democrats did, and he kind of came in and cobbled that administration together. This is very, very different. I've been almost without exception, and with one or two exceptions, overwhelmingly positively surprised and pleased by the people that he's putting in and the policies that you can tell that he and others have been working on for the past year. And I think that starting on the 21st, we're going to see a lot of action on that.
Yeah, I say this carefully, but to him to lose to Biden for 4 years and then to go back and have a second term is somewhat providential. Had he won the second term and beaten Biden, he still would have had the same cabinet and all of the mushiness of that. Instead, he comes in and goes, nope, I'm starting clean. All of these bureaucrats are off to the side. I'm going with people that nobody knows. Pretty shocking.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time that I've been this optimistic about an incoming presidency. Now, the world changes. The world throws surprises at presidents, but. Yeah, no, I'm feeling very, very good about it on a number of fronts.
Ken, some of this almost looks like it's got a global spillover. Look what's happening up in Canada. Look what's happening in France. Look what's happening in Germany. The people are rising up and saying, you know what? If the people of America can take America back, maybe we ought to take our country back. What's your take on that?
I think that the elites, and it's, I don't mean that as a pejorative term. I mean, you and I are elites. I mean by any definition of that. But in general, I think that the people who were running their countries, and that's both the elected officials and the bureaucracy class and the media class, I think that their values diverged enough from the average person in their countries. And I think, you think of the illegal immigration thing that's been going. Who wanted that? There wasn't, there wasn't 20% of Americans who thought, hey, let's just open up the borders and let 5 million people walk in over 4 years, or whatever those numbers are that we still don't know. In France, same thing. There are neighborhoods you can't recognize in France. Although, in fairness, I went to Paris a couple weeks ago. If you just look at it on Twitter, it looks horrible. It's still pretty beautiful in 99% of the place. I didn't see anything bad there. So I think that globally, and it's both a media thing and a leader thing. It feels like the ruling class got a little too high in their horse and diverged from the things that their country needed and that their country wanted. And these are corrections going on from here to all over that. It's a good point.
Some have said that it's not totally fatal, but the DNC is knocked down pretty hard. I don't care who they put up, what personality, what name, it's not going anywhere because their policies is what lost here. Do you think that's true?
I think it was both. I mean, clearly she was a horrific candidate. The party of democracy, or at least that talked about it for a long time, decided to set democracy aside and select somebody that wasn't a good choice. So there was that. But if the Democrats had been, but Trump brings some baggage too, and if the Democrats were 20-30% better on some of their issues, and it was clearly on who wants this kind of illegal immigration? No one. Who wants this crazy DEI stuff and the transgender stuff? A very small minority of Americans wanted that to happen. You look at what they were doing with their policies on crime, which under the guise of, wow, everybody going to jail, it must be racism, just decided to stop sending people to jail, including the 1% of criminals who do 80% of the crime, and the inner core of cities where you can't walk through them in many places. So no, they have to get their race and sex stuff kind of figured out. There is no one person who is going to solve it for them. I mean, we often think of a small star chamber of the behind the scenes, and there's some very powerful people, but I think that over the next 2 years they're still going to go through their debate, and we'll see if saner, if the people who are, I mean, there was a a Democratic congressman who right afterwards had flipped on the transcript. Yeah, I like that. On the transgender script, where he was like, I just don't want my daughter getting beat up on the playing field by a biological man, and I'm supposed to be afraid to say that. And the day before the election, he was afraid to say that because he never did. And so if some of those more moderate and smarter voices take heed and stop playing the inside game that drifted them away from their own population and their own party. I saw a picture, Perry, of it was Elon Musk, Donald Trump, there was Kennedy, and there was somebody else, and who's in the administration. Oh, I guess it was Tulsi Gabbard. And I was like, they were all Democrats not all that long ago.
You're right.
That says something about the party that kind of shifted away to the left and left enough people that they lost the House, the Senate, the presidency, the Supreme Court. They've got some making up to do. So
I kind of boil it down to three things that kind of swung the pendulum. One was CRT, that hit the wall. Defund the police hit the wall. And transgenderism hit the wall, primarily boys and girls locker room. All of that pretty much hit the wall with common Americans. And I would assume it's dead. I mean, I don't see them trying to keep this alive.
Well, it's a big they. I mean, certainly there's an element of it that will keep fighting this and keep doing this. They're certainly on defense on all of this. From the San Jose, the biggest flashpoint was the San Jose volleyball team where they had a transgender player, and he was spiking the ball 60 miles an hour. But what you saw, you didn't see a short time ago, was some of the other players speaking up, some of the other schools and the other players on the other teams saying, we don't want to be part of this. We're just going to let them win. So they're definitely, we've seen it so many times on so many things, the cycle of politics. Well, crime, transgender, DEI, all of that, I think, has hit its peak in the short term. Trump will undo a good chunk of it, and I think that other local politicians and some national politicians on both sides understand that now and are going to moderate it. Okay. And does it disappear? Probably not. Does it? But they're definitely on the defense, and it'll be lessening, and that's just good news for everybody.
All right, let me take a quick break. Always a joy to have with us Ken LaCourte. Check out a couple of places. His podcast is a must-listen to. Elephants in Rooms is the podcast there at youtube.com/ at Elephants in Rooms. And then his personal website is kenlacourte.substack.com, the Substack connection there. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Worried that inflation might burst your retirement bubble? I'm Michelle Slate. Lighthouse Financial shines guiding light on retirement, investing, and insurance. Helping you navigate the stormy seas of retirement, Lighthouse stands tall as a beacon of hope, offering you wise counsel and biblically responsible investing. Lighthouse Financial. Call us today, 541-494-1034.
Mental health care works when you make the call.
God said, "For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved." If you today call upon the name of the Lord, you can be saved. You can be made over.
Billy Graham Classics, Fridays on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back. Our buddy Ken LaCourte's with us today, former executive at Fox News, and now he's the host of Elephants in Rooms podcast, which is a must listen to. And you can go to youtube.com/@elephantsinrooms. And then Substack place is kenlacourte.substack.com. Ken, I'm scratching my head here. I mean, the trolling by the president-elect at times is not only amazing, it's just quite humorous, if not shocking. I mean, it kind of runs you through all the roller coasters here. But Canada, Greenland, and Panama. Okay, now, what do we do here? First of all, Panama. Can we, as far as you know, can he take it back?
You know, I haven't read the fine print in things. It's always a mistake to take him too literally, and it's always a mistake to not take him seriously. Yeah. And so you have to both say what's going on. And, I mean, because he can say something like that and make things happen. I will never forget when Iran was doing something stupid under his. He said, you know, we might just take out their mosques, or he was talking about some of their like ancient mosques, which of course set D.C. and it's, you know, it's violating the Geneva's Convention, and oh my God, blah 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 blah. But they took it kind of seriously, and it moderated their behavior with a tweet. Remember when the North Korean kid was the North Korean dictator was rattling his thing, and Trump sent out a tweet that could have been written by a 7-year-old. In fact, somebody reprinted it in crayon, and it looked like it was. He was like, I don't know why. I thought we could be good friends. I don't know why he called me old. I would never call him fat. And then he had a secondary thing about how it's like, you know, he talks about a red button. Well, I have a bigger one and mine works. So all of the guys in the State Department were literally throwing up in their office trash cans when they read that, because that's not how presidents act. But I'll never forget when Kim Jong-un came back later and they wanted some agreement with the United States. I think we signed a nicey nice thing. And their first top of their point was that the United States wouldn't nuclear bomb them. And I was like, who on earth would want to bomb North Korea? It's like bombing the desert. But it told me that Trump understands people. He understands that guy, and the guy was actually nervous from that. So I don't know whether he has the power to take back Panama Canal, but if he is trying to get the like crazy high fees or too much China influence, if he's trying to get that stuff done, it might just bring them to the table in a way that you know, 50 seconds of him typing out a tweet is overwhelmingly there. So I don't know the underlying stuff on it, but I know that he understands people enough that he knows how to put pressure on them in the right way, and he does it through public ways like that.
Yeah, I understand that, because if you read The Art of the Deal, you get towards the end of the book, you kind of understand he throws way out past where he wants to go, and he settles somewhere in the middle. But the Panama Canal thing is so interesting to me, because I don't think any of us knew that China was running one end of it and promising the world to all those Panamanians down there by building $1 billion bridge and all the stuff that goes with it. So I'm on a quest to find out, is the treaty or the sales agreement, has it been breached?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think when you have a big enough Navy, you get to define things a little bit different than the Panamanians.
Yeah. So all right. So let's go over to Greenland. Can you tell me what his interest in Greenland is, other than maybe military strategy?
I think it's military. I think that they have a lot of natural resources. I mean, one of the things that and I haven't followed this all that closely, in fairness, one of the things that is an issue as we gin up, as we start to separate our economy a little bit from China, and I think that that's something that the president wants. I think that's something that we all realized in the you know, during COVID. It's like, first of all, not only did you start that over there, okay, that's a whole separate conversation, but the fact that so much of our medical, the from the PPE to the masks were made in China, and we didn't have the ability to get them over here. And we learned, I think, a lot in that. And one of the things right now that China is going to play hardball, and one of the few things that they have that we really need still, even though we're discovering more parts of it, are these high-end metals that are necessity in building silicon chips and a lot of our military things. That you've heard about the debate on that. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be so how much Greenland plays into that, I'm not sure. It's interesting that all three of those, though, were from, making Canada the 51st state to Panama to Greenland. It was the theme of that is American expansion. And when's the last time you've heard a leader of the United States even float the notion of maybe America should be a bigger country? I mean, we had that concept all throughout the 1800s and early 1900s of taking over the whole north. They didn't stop at the 13 colonies and say, all right, well that's it, we're done. And now we have a president who's at least floating the notion and bringing up the concept that maybe America should be a bigger country and a more, on one hand, he's preaching a little bit of isolation. He wants to use the military less. He wants to do America first. He wants to do some less of that. But he's also there's a little bit of point of pride in the, maybe Canada would make an extra good state or two up there. So I think that there's something PR-wise into it all for him. It's kind of like with Kennedy talking about going to the moon and back. It's a big challenge. We can be greater than we are, perhaps. And so I think some of that's going into it. I mean, we got a lot more problems in Greenland, of course, but it's an interesting point of pride to be like, well, let's put this on the table.
This is so fascinating because I've had several people on lately also that are pretty savvy what's going on in Canada, and they pretty much feel that Trudeau's days are numbered. He's so unpopular now, and his equivalent to the vice president has resigned. Trump trolls and says, why don't you become governor of a 51st state? And then he said, well, let's put Gretzky up there. He'll win and doesn't have to spend any money. I mean, this is all Trumpism at its best. But Trudeau is further weakened. The Canadians are liking the idea of all this stuff. In other words, they don't like him, but they like anything that could be against him. Does he survive much longer?
I hope not. He has been he's a good-looking guy who does a lot of authoritarian things that if I lived in Canada I wouldn't be happy about. I don't, so I don't really care all that much. But it's certainly making. I mean, look, and Trump. This is punishing him. This is punishing Trudeau. I mean, the fact that, and even if 90% of Canadians are rolling their eyes saying we're not going to become a state of the United States, the fact that that's even a point, that's even a talking point, has to hurt the current ruler of Canada. Could you imagine? I mean, could you imagine if the conversation was really, well, maybe we let China take over or whatever that equivalent might be. It's hard to imagine that with the United States, or it's hard to even play in that analogy. But that just that weakened Trudeau in the eyes of the world and certainly of Canadians. So he's on the edge. He's fighting for it, and that might have been we'll see in retrospect. Maybe that was the little push that created a bit of an avalanche.
Well, again, this is so amazing to me. Some people up there said he'll be out by Valentine's Day. I don't know, but I guess the other part of it is since his equivalent to vice president, which I think is the Minister of Finance, has resigned and stepped aside, that if he does resign, that it's not as matter he reaches back and somebody else becomes prime minister. It might throw the country into a full-blown election. Do you know if that's how parliamentary world works?
I will admit some of my Canadian political shortcomings here. In most parliamentary systems, the whole concept of that is yes, the parliament comes into it and they select the leader of it. That's certainly how it works in Britain, which is why when they step down, you have another snap election and some things like that. So I guess, but I don't want to be fake news.
No, okay, that's fine. And in the meantime, Farage is popping up in the UK, and he's going to go from 5 to 72 seats. I mean, that shakes Parliament up over there. What do you think's happening?
I think it's the same thing we talked elsewhere. It's people are flexing their muscle at the ballot box, and that's what they're supposed to do.
Okay. Hey, buddy, good to see you. How's your podcast going?
Oh, it's going very well. To talk about fun things, and I'll be talking about that UFO and UAP. What's going on in New Jersey is the next one, which is a weird instance of half complete hysteria, but at the underlying of it is we have a lot of serious level drones that for years have been incurring and flying over and hovering near our military installations, our nuclear power plants, and other things. There's a serious problem underlying it, although 98% of the stuff you see on TV is people pointing at stars and freaking out, and the news media being like, wow, that helicopter certainly looks like a drone. So it's an interesting thing that we'll keep an eye on.
But it does leave a legitimate question. What is it, and why don't we know?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I wouldn't be surprised if the military does have a very good idea, and whether it's China, China's really China is actually a leader in drone technology. And so some of that certainly feels like, I mean, we've had instances of where we were 50 miles off the coast and swarms of drones would be flying around our ships and coming up and flying virtually over our battleships. I mean, this is so, best case scenario is it's us and one part of the government is seriously testing the other, but a likely scenario is it's China with, it's the China balloon all over again, but they're doing it with drones.
So it's not Pizza Hut trying to make a delivery?
Not yet.
'Tis the season. Hey, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for your time. Let's stay connected. Should be a fun year with a lot of things to talk about.
I'm actually happy and looking forward to it, and I always love being here.
All right, thanks man. See you around.
Bye-bye.
Disasters happen, and Oregon faces a range of disaster threats, including earthquakes, floods, and storms. You can prepare now by taking 3 important steps. Create a home inventory, make copies of important financial records, and contact your insurance company to make sure you have the right amounts and types of home insurance coverage. Be disaster ready by being insurance ready. Visit dfr.oregon.gov/prepare now to learn how.
At Kelly's Automotive Service,
being good stewards of what God has entrusted to us
is at the core of our business.
We believe what we do matters.
Every interaction, every transaction is another opportunity
to bring Christ's values into the marketplace.
If you're a technician who wants to be part of something bigger,
or just looking for a new shop to bring your vehicle,
we would love to meet you.
We're Kelly's Automotive Service,
where we service your vehicle,
but take care of you.
You feel most alive where you feel most at home. And this is living. Bobcat, the company that changed the way the world works, is coming home with a quality compact tractor built to match your quality of life. This isn't work you have to do. It's work you get to do. So get it done in a tractor that's all you. See your dealer or visit bobcat.com.
theDove.us, your place online to stay encouraged and informed. Enrich and grow your faith with reliable, inspiring content. Anywhere you are, you can stream the Dove TV's faith-based programming. Listen to the Dove Radio. Ask for prayer. Get the Word for You Today devotional. Plus, download the Dove app. Go to theDove.us, a trustworthy Christian media platform that will change your life forever. Make it yours today.
Welcome back. I wanted to take a few moments today to say to so very many of you that have helped us with our year-end need. And I also kind of owe you an apology. I should be updating you more, and I just been busy with so many things, but that's not an excuse. It's just one of the reasons why I haven't been out here more. But we had a year-end goal of $217,000, and that's a lot of money, and I understand that. But at this time of the year, we have to renew a lot of our tower leases for another year, and what we call distribution fees, because the Dove Radio and TV is heard on other stations that we don't own, that other people allow us basically to pay them to air our programming entirely. And that was a total of $217,000. Well, as of Friday, we're 93% there. And I'm confident today and tomorrow, being what it is, and through the weekend, this past weekend, we'll probably meet our goal. But look, folks, we are all humbled by your support. And I want to say thank you. There's just no way we could do any of this without your participation. And I also want to say thank you to the many of you who support us every month. And maybe that's something you ought to consider, or might consider, or pray about, thinking about and praying about. Become a monthly partner with us. That's what keeps this thing going 24/7. But we're well on our way to meet the goal. As of Friday, it was 93%, so the next 7% I'm pretty confident will most likely come in the next day or so. But folks, we don't take any of this for granted. This is serious business with us, and I want to say thank you. So many of you have come in. You've literally come to the station. Some people have literally come from out of town and drove to the station. So many of you through the email, because you can support the Dove through email, or through the website, excuse me. So you can go to theDove.us, and there's a support button there, and all that's safe and secure. And we just want to say thank you for supporting there. And so many of you just sent in a support through the mail. But folks, thank you so much. We've been pretty consistent over the last several years at about 84% of the Dove's revenue still from viewers and listeners just like you. And we just wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So I want to say thank you. And I've always said, to the point where I don't want it to sound boring or just become white noise, but in supporting the Dove, it has to be a God thing. Don't take from your church. I want to emphasize, we're not here to replace the church. We're here to augment the church. We're here to support what your pastor is saying on a 24/7 basis. But you should belong to a church, and you should be involved in the church, and you should support your church. And many of you are involved because of your relationship with God and the various things that He has brought you through. You're involved in really key ministries. A lot of parachurch ministries, churches that are ministries that are outside the church that do godly work, whether it's in drugs and rehab and addiction counseling, or youth. So many youth services out there. They're just doing a wonderful job. The Salvation Army, the food access, pregnancy centers, the list goes on and on and on. And if you're involved in there, then that's where you should be giving your support as well. But if the Lord does lead you to support the Dove, please know that we are so grateful for that support. We don't take it for granted, and we thank God for you and your participation. And let me say this, folks, even though with all the changes in the last 4 years and now going into a year that has great anticipation and all of that, the need for the gospel to go out is even greater. There's a lot of things that are still very, very challenging, and probably will be until Jesus comes. And some of the things that we deal with are still, difficult. And yet the opportunities, gosh, I just, the other day, there's two parts to me. There's this evangelist side that wants to be everywhere and reach everybody. And then there's this business side of me that says, well, be practical here and don't overstretch yourself. But folks, we have great opportunity to take the Dove to other places. We just don't do it because we want to live within our means. So we seek God's wisdom. Our board is very good about that and cautious about that. But I just want to say thank you. And if the Lord is leading you in the next day or so to send a year-end gift, you can call us anytime at 541-776-5368. Or you can go online at theDove.us. That's safe and secure. But only do what the Lord's leading you to do. And even as we speak, one of our translators is down. We got struck by lightning. So these things kind of, they just happen, and they continue to happen. We had another one of our services go down, and we found out that that a phone line behind it caught on fire and took out one of our problems. These things are constant. They just go all the time. Our legal bills are just through the roof. But we do all that not as a complaint, but it's part of the process of what we do to be a network of what God called us to do. And so, but you really are a partner in that in so many ways. You make it available. You make it happen. You give us the opportunity to grow and to go and to do things that otherwise we couldn't. So thank you so very much. And again, let me just say, in the next couple of days, just do what you feel led to do, and don't take from your church or any other ministry that you're involved in. But if you feel led, give us a call, 541-776-5368, or you safely and securely can go online at theDove.us. And again, from all of us here behind the scenes, those of us who are in front of the camera, those of us who are behind the camera, those who are in the control room, the engineers, the staff, administration, everything, we just want to say thank you for partnering with us and being a part of something that literally is changing lives every day, every moment of the day. People are tuning in and getting encouraged, and your support makes that happen. So thank you so very, very much. We'll be right back.
From top home sellers in the Valley with John L. Scott.
To making RV consignment effortless.
American RV, where Team Toner gets your RV sold fast.
Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and so timely to have back with us somebody I so appreciate. Dr. Carson is the founder of American Cornerstone Institute. Alan Dershowitz, a lawyer, obviously, a Harvard professor of law. Dr. Erwin Lutzer, pastor emeritus of the Moody Church in Chicago. Been a long time. David Limbaugh is back with us. I'm honored to have evangelist Dr. Elvita King with us.
For more Focus Today episodes and podcasts, go to theDove.us.
You're an essential worker, and the Department of Labor helps ensure you receive the protections you deserve. Visit our website or call 866-4US-WAGE. That's 866-487-9243. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Labor.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Welcome back, and honored to have back with us today on this almost New Year's Day. Aaron McIntyre is back with us, the author of an interesting book called The Total State and How Liberal Democracies Become Tyrannies. He's also the host of the Aaron McIntyre Show, which is a show, and then he has the column for Blaze News. So pretty busy guy, and in between that he sleeps, kind of, sort of. Hi, Aaron. How you doing, bud?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
You bet. The passing of Jimmy Carter, really an amazing person. How would you rate his presidency?
Well, I think a lot of people have mixed opinions of Jimmy Carter. As a man, they think that he is a good person, but ultimately these presidency led us to a lot of difficulty, and obviously the American people saw that, and that's why Ronald Reagan ended up taking over. He's also remembered a lot for what he did after his presidency. And once again, it's a mixed bag. He's involved in some good causes, but some very left-wing causes that ultimately caused harm. So again, I think a lot of people respect his personal life while maybe feeling that his public life was less than always on track.
Yeah, I think that sums it up. I mean, there was one positive thing that came out of his presidency, and that was the peace deal between Israel and Egypt. What do you think about that?
Obviously, his legacy there, again, is once again mixed. A lot of people, of course, would like to see more and more countries sue for peace with Israel, look for a way to coexist with them. And ultimately, at that time, that was a huge deal. But Jimmy Carter has moved on to write entire books about how he feels like Israel has no business in certain areas inside of the Middle East, including in Gaza. And so, once again, I think we can look and say a good piece of work done, but then others look at his legacy and say later on he seems to have changed his tune.
Okay, I'm going to come to a couple of things. Do you understand what President-elect Trump's trying to do with Panama Canal?
I really think it's interesting that he has done some trolling a little bit on the internet, as the kids call it. He has talked about greater kind of America there, America stretching its influence into Canada. Maybe Justin Trudeau would just be a good governor there, stretching its influence all the way back down to the Panama Canal and asserting influence there. I think ultimately Trump recognizes that so much of the world has been putting America on the back foot, that we've been thinking about what we can do for them, the ways in which we have to bend over backwards to be politically correct to all of these nations. He wants people to know that America is in control, that ultimately the United States is going to be a leader. It's going to be looking for economic opportunities. He's talked about buying Greenland at times, right? So I think in some ways this is Trump joking, but in other ways he wants world leaders to know that he's thinking about America first, that he's thinking about the opportunities and the future of America, not just sitting around making apologies for other nations that may or may not feel like we owe them something.
Were you surprised to find out how involved China is with the Panama Canal?
No, China has been attempting to increase its sphere of influence for many years. It's interesting because ultimately I feel like China as a civilization is often one that takes a few steps forward and then one back. They're not necessarily what one would think of as a global superpower in the same sense that people might have thought of the United States or even Russia. But ultimately, they recognize that they want to compete, and that means having access to trade routes, controlling different aspects of the global trade system. Ultimately, China's looking to break the United States' monopoly on global trade, and if they're going to do that, they need to work their way into all of these key aspects of our global trade system, and something like the Panama Canal is just one of them.
So back to Greenland, what attracts President Trump to Greenland? Is it military strategy?
Again, I don't know how much of it is serious, but if I may be wrong about this, but I believe there are rare earth minerals there, that there are valuable minerals to be mined out of Greenland. That could be part of it. It could simply be the fact that that's an opportunity to expand the idea of Americans' zone of control and new opportunities and frontiers for the United States. Let's be honest, the United States is always at its best when it's conquering some kind of frontier. But ultimately, I'm not sure if this is a geopolitical or resource-driven maneuver, or ultimately, again, it's him simply engaging in conversation, letting the world know the United States is back. The United States is a power that is expanding, asserting its influence. We are no longer one that is simply shrinking away from different opportunities.
His trolling of Canada, and in particular teasing Prime Minister Trudeau becoming governor, it looks like the Canadians kind of like the idea only because it gets rid of Trudeau. What do you think?
Yeah, it's been said very often that Justin Trudeau is on his last legs here, that he's a dead man walking politically. His party simply doesn't have the votes. He's been in power, obviously, for a very long time, but just the downward slide of Canadian well-being and culture has really brought people to the point where they're done with Justin Trudeau. Now, the only problem with being done with Justin Trudeau is the Conservative Party in Canada makes the Republican Party in the United States look wildly conservative and right-wing. Like the left, the conservatives in Canada are at best moderate Democrats on a really good day. But they are, of course, superior to Justin Trudeau. There are many Canadians who have joked and said, you will be welcomed as liberators if you come into Canada. Again, I think a good deal of joking, but ultimately a lot of Canadians recognize that many of the policies, including ones like large-scale mass immigration along the lines of the stuff that's being pushed by many on the, well, we should say, the tech right, like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and David Sachs, it has not helped their country. They have not become economically competitive. It has only worsened kind of the social cohesion and the cost of living problems in Canada. And ultimately, they are rejecting this idea, even while we are now somehow entertaining it here in the United States.
Wow, it's kind of interesting. So over to, it's going to be interesting because this next couple of weeks is going to be a lot going on in the United States. I'm sure there's going to be a state funeral for the former president. Mixed into that will be the vote for the speakership in the House over Mike Johnson. Do you think he survives?
I would hope not. And ultimately, Mike Johnson was himself a response to a insufficiently responsive speaker previously. But ultimately, we need to send a message that this kind of behavior is unacceptable. Johnson has failed to move things forward. We need someone who's going to be assertive, who's going to make big moves. And Johnson has been very clear that he's incredibly reactive. He might be a good person on his, again, personally, in a Jimmy Carter-esque mold, but he simply does not seem to have the fortitude necessary to lead. I mean, it took the guy the better part of a day to finally define what a man and a woman is. I'm glad he finally did that, but the very fact that he had to be kind of drug out on social media to tell the truth on a fact like that is pretty concerning. I don't feel like he's the guy who's going to carry Trump's agenda forward. And I think it's really important that somebody does that. Trump has shown himself willing to work with Johnson, and perhaps ultimately he can discipline him into doing what is necessary. But the signs don't look good right now.
Okay, there's only one problem with that. We're only a few days away from this, and guess what? I haven't heard anybody's name being floated. Nobody.
Yeah, ultimately, I would like to see somebody like a Thomas Massie put into a position like that, but that might just be me wishful thinking. Ultimately, we might be stuck with Mike Johnson, and that might be what we have to work with. Like I said, I do think that there is a possibility he could be disciplined into that role. He does seem very susceptible to public pressure, and if Trump and the rest of the MAGA base can continue to encourage him to make the right decisions, ultimately that might be the way you have to go. But down the road, it would be best if people started thinking about the future of the party. If you don't have a guy better than Mike Johnson on the bench, then you might want to start thinking about why.
Okay. But as far as January 3rd is concerned, it looks like he has no opposition.
Yeah, again, like I said, that I don't think that as we see it now, there's going to be someone like Massie put into a position like this. I just think he has too many enemies. I don't know if anyone else is willing to throw their hat in the ring. Once again, unfortunately for the GOP and America at large, there seems to be really very little interest in leadership. And so we have a scenario where Johnson might be the only one available to fill that role. But we will just simply have to wait and see, I guess, at this point.
A lot of speculation that on January 20th at 2 o'clock, according to President-elect Trump, the new administration will be engaged. And backing that is a host of, ERs, executive orders, most of which will be dealing with the border. Do you know how, or any of the details of what those may be?
I've seen a lot floated around. It's not exactly clear. I mean, a large amount of President Trump's policies were executive orders at the border. That was a critical part. That's why so much about Joe Biden's, we have to pass all these laws. We need additional funding. Well, it would be great to have additional funding for the Border Patrol and all of these different things. But ultimately, that's not the case. President Trump was able to bring down border entries significantly through simple applications of policy, and that could be reinstated once he's moved in. I know Stephen Miller has been moving aggressively to make these kind of options available. We have, I think, now an understanding for both the Trump administration and the American people, again, after this kind of recent online battle over the issue of H-1B visas and legal and illegal immigration, that this is what President Trump was given a mandate to do, and I think he knows that. I know he feels that the thing people are most disappointed about is that we never got the wall and we didn't get those lasting changes in the structure. Now, ultimately, executive orders aren't lasting changes. They don't stick around. They can be immediately repealed by the next president, these kind of things. And so it would necessarily move into a legislative realm, and especially a bureaucratic realm. He needs to remake the bureaucracies of these agencies, very importantly, if he wants lasting change. But the executive orders are a good way to get the ball rolling. That first 100 days is, of course, the most critical in any presidency.
I guess over the weekend or late last week, the judge ruled against President Biden selling the wall parts. That's pretty significant, don't you think?
Yeah, sorry, I don't have a lot of background on that particular issue. I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, they were trying to sell them off, and he stopped it. So I can't help but think that's going to be a good deal. What do you think about RFK Jr.? Does he get confirmed, and what will he do?
Yeah, ultimately, it's interesting to see if RFK does get confirmed. They haven't gotten, there's been a lot of talk about this guy being a crazy, these kind of things, but there hasn't been the level of pushback that we saw to someone like a Matt Gaetz. It seems like ultimately the left is not quite as invested in this position or trying to destroy it in the way that others are. And more importantly, there's not as much pushback from moderate Republicans, even though RFK is, of course, a Democrat or is at least an independent. He is not a traditional conservative in any way. But I know a lot of people on the right are very concerned about health. They're very concerned about what is in our food. They're very concerned about the way in which we apply drugs and the way we make these things in the United States and how it compares to other countries. I think RFK is somebody who does genuinely care about this issue deeply, even if I very much disagree with him on other issues. And so if you're going to put him in one position in the administration, this would be it. And so it seems like he's very interested. We've already heard about removing fluoride from the water, looking at the different ingredients that go into food that are having negative impacts on people in the United States. I think that's the kind of thing you can expect him to review once he gets placed in that position, if he is confirmed.
As you know, he went after Fauci with both feet and wrote the book and the whole 9 yards and called him out, especially for the vaccine and everything. Couple of questions there. Does Fauci get a pardon from President Biden? And if so, would that be a form of admittance?
Yeah, I don't think they'll ever admit what they actually did here, of course, and anybody handing out the pardons will simply say, oh, well, we're only really worried about the Trump administration coming after him. Trump has vowed to go after his enemies, and so that's the only reason we're doing it, not because there is actually an wrongdoing. We're just protecting him from a corrupted process, which, of course, is hilarious because the corrupted process is exactly what Joe Biden and his administration has wielded against all of the people who worked for Donald Trump. We've seen so many people, Steve Bannon, others, who are unjustly placed in prison or have to pay out large amounts of legal fees to defend themselves from a Department of Justice that has just been horrible under Joe Biden. Now, ultimately, I think they probably won't issue a pardon, but it is possible. I would not rule it out. But the way they would spin it is, oh, well, we're just avoiding the corruption of Trump. I think to all of us, it would say what we already know very loud and clear, that Fauci was a monster and did terrible things and is trying to dodge the consequences.
What ultimately happens to Matt Gaetz?
Well, he's already accepted a position on, I believe, OAN. It sounds like he's already got a future in kind of the broadcasting punditry sphere. That seems to be where he's going personally. Professionally, I'm not sure if they'll continue any form of investigation. I mean, once people tend to be out of the light, once they're no longer politically active, these things tend to kind of fall off, which I imagine is what Gaetz was ultimately hoping. I have no idea about the credibility of any of these allegations. I have no particular or special knowledge. I know that they would send just about anybody and say just about anything to destroy someone who they think is aligned with Donald Trump. But ultimately, that doesn't mean that Matt Gaetz didn't do something wrong. So we're simply probably going to have to see. I would imagine that once he is out of specific power, once there's no longer a chance to him being an attorney general or sitting on any committees, then they will probably let him fade into the background working in the punditry business. But we'll have to see.
How do you think President Biden will be remembered?
A disaster. There's really no way to see it otherwise. I mean, the entire nation knows that life got worse under him. He's repudiated very seriously at the ballot box. More or less every left-winger at this point has even agreed that he was a disaster in some way, shape, or form, whether it was the hiding of his quality of health, his lack of mental acuity, his inability to get many of the left-wing priorities that they wanted done, the way in which the economy faltered under him. There are many, many things that the left are pretty much willing to hang on Biden and walk away as well. That was always the value of Joe Biden. He could do a lot of bad things that the left wanted done anyway, but then you could just blame it on a guy who was obviously senile, obviously on his way out politically and everything else. So I don't think he's going to be remembered fondly by either the left or the right.
Do you think on his way out, he goes after the people that made him step aside?
Well, it's interesting. We've seen these little digs here and there, right? Like right. It seems like regularly Biden will kind of throw in comments. He will say things at inopportune times. You always wonder if it's because he's he really is just that senile, or if he's working in digs at those that kind of took him out. What does he have to lose, ultimately, is the real question. He doesn't need to get elected again. He's not going to have another job in Democratic politics. He's not going to be remembered as some kind of scion of the left.
Right.
So it would make sense to me that he would go after those people, but it may not. I mean, again, I don't think he's firing all cylinders. It would have to probably be his wife, Jill, that encouraged him to do that kind of thing. And I'm not sure if they're willing to have that fight on the way out. But once again, we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, good to see you. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out his book. It's called The Total State, How Liberal Democracies Become Tyrannies. And there's a picture of the cover of the book. And where can they get this, Aaron?
You can see it on Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. Of course, it's on Amazon, or you can pick it up at your local bookstore.
Okay. It's called Total State, How Liberal Democracies Become Tyrannies. I think you'll find it to be fairly insightful. Good to see you, friend. Thanks. Let's stay connected.
Thanks again.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
We have a divine obligation to teach our children the truth of God's Word so that they'll be equipped to face life and understand that they are children of God. He has a will for their life, a plan for their life, and it's the parents' responsibility to introduce them to the Lord. And every following generation has the same responsibility. We have a responsibility to teach our sons and daughters. Our sons and daughters have the responsibility to teach their sons and daughters. And they have the responsibility to teach their sons and daughters. And no place in the Bible does it say we can have a generation gap when it comes to teaching the Word of God.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater, which fostered my love for acting. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Romans 1:20 tells us God's power is revealed in creation. Yet 2 Corinthians 4:4 reminds us that Satan has blinded many to the gospel. At the Life Outdoors, we've seen the truth of God, His eternal power and divine nature displayed in every mountain and stream. Follow along and let's wake the wild within. The mountains don't lie. Where there's truth, there's Jesus.
Please help with a special year-end gift today so that we can continue transmitting and distributing our signal through the Dove Network. Thank you. Well, good morning, and welcome to Mornings on the Dove on this Monday as we head down the end of 2024 and into the beginning of 2025. Good morning. I am Jerry Bilden's reason to get up in the morning.
Well, in many ways, that's true.
Anyway, good morning to you. Happy Monday. A lot going on in the news. Of course, the big news is the passing of President Jimmy Carter yesterday afternoon.